got here first? Scott Preston. 1,000 pine points. Dahaikinen. Second place, 500 pine points. And Paul Schlechter. A lot of Germans in here today. 250 pine points for you, sir. Welcome to the Pinecreek channel where former Mennonites rock around the clock. You're crunching granola, B. Guzman? No, don't do that. I'll think you're a liberal. Those flag-waving phony liberals. There was a really good question asked on Stand to Reason. And the question was, why follow Christ? Bring back the space background. Well, if someone calls in, I will. See, then I'll just do I'll press this little button here, and then we'll get the space background. Yeah, I was surprised too, Jim Limkel, that Stand for Reason actually asked. Actually, it wasn't them who asked the question. It was one of their callers asked the question. Why follow Christ? This is, I think, this is the one and only question, the first question that should be out of the gate for any non-Christian to ask a Christian. And of course, the answer is obvious, but I want to hear them state the obvious, because that's what I love to hear. Pinecreek, am I expected to tie 10% of my pine points to the home office in Wichita? No. That's a God thing. Actually, Anthony Magnabosco told me that whenever Satan comes into the room, I should do this. Satan? Yes, Satan, you wanted to speak to me, Satan? But maybe that's too scary for the kids. This channel is not for kids, by the way. If you're under 18, please leave. This is for adults. We're going to do adult talking. I don't want to hurt any fragile young children in the audience. So even if you're a Christian who's 17, loves philosophy and all this sort of thing, you're not old enough. Sorry. You haven't had enough experiences to listen to me. Oh. No, you can do what you want, but just let your parents know what you're doing. If you're under 18 years old and you listen to Pinecreek channel, I want you to tell your mom and dad, Mom, Dad, I'm listening to this guy on the internets. He says he works for Satan. And then if your mom and dad say, okay, go ahead, keep listening, then feel free to keep listening. Okay, let's listen to the answer here of why should anyone follow Christ. And then I'll talk about how to talk to apologists. And but if you're free to call, you see at the top here, that's that's what you call, for you people from Alabama who've over 50 years old. This is an internet address on the top, and then you just type it. Make sure your caps lock is off first, because we don't like caps. And then the caps lock is just to the left of the A button for you 50-year-old and plus from Alabama, and you can type that in. Actually, if you're over 50 and from Alabama, don't call in. No, I take that back. I don't want you to call in. But if you're over 50 from Manitoba, yeah, then feel free to call in. Boy, that's being really prejudiced.
Question doesn't get through, but we still want you to send your questions here through Twitter with the hashtag STRask. So,
and a few words.
The woman speaking right now, her name is Amy, and I've talked to her before on this channel a long time ago. And we've had back and forths on Twitter, and I think we've had a back and forth on Twitter about this exact topic coming up.
Words this morning. Grunts. All right, what do we got here?
Okay, the first question comes from Josh McClanahan. I'm a believer trying to answer the question, what's the point of following Christ? Seems like a two-sided question, personal reasons / philosophical.
Well,
actually, you know what? Before he gives his answer, let's see if I can find it. You hear those little clicking? That's me going through the Wichita Home Office file folder. We keep Rolodexes. We keep biographies, detailed notes on every Christian that the Pinecreek channel has discussed. And so let's see if I can find it here. I got to go to the Greg Koukl file. G for Greg. We go first name here at the home office. And oh yes, here it is. Yeah, let me bring this up. This is what I made a little while back because I had a conversation with Greg Koukl a while back. And these are quotes. I called in and I asked Greg Koukl, why do Christian parents cry when their children leave Christianity? Is it because, one, they think their child will go to hell? And Greg Koukl said, yeah, before I even could say the second one. And then the second one is, or is it because they think their child will make more moral mistakes in life? And to quote Greg Koukl, I have him on audio saying this video, I think the first certainly trumps the second. And then I said, I made this meme and I said, Christianity is a religion of carrots and sticks, which is not necessarily a bad thing. I'm just pointing out the obvious. And I posted this on Twitter, I don't know how long ago. And he got upset. Greg Koukl did not like this because it makes, you know how Christians like to use the word straw man a lot? It just makes Christianity like a straw man. Like it's just so, no, there's a rich heritage. There's so much more to it than that. But really, that's what's important. And let's see if Greg could say that here.
It seems like the question is suggesting that there is a distinction between getting saved and following Jesus. Okay, so what's the point? If they say, what's the point of getting saved? Well, that's pretty obvious because there's condemnation, just condemnation for...
I wish I could use 2x on this, Jim, for cry, but this is a download, and let's see. I mean, not a download. This is, download the MP. No, there's no way I can do 2x.
Our rebellion against God. And so if we don't avail ourselves of the grace of God, then we are going to be punished. Either Jesus is punished.
There it is. If we don't avail ourselves to the grace of God, we're going to be punished.
Or we're punished. So that seems pretty obvious. I don't imagine somebody would ask the question, what's the point of getting saved? Even if they disagree with Christianity, at least they understand the notion and they can understand why Christians would say that's important.
Well, let's just say, I would say he's probably saying, my guess is he's including salvation and following Christ, or following Christ as leading to salvation. So salvation would be one point.
Hey, Aaron D., I see you're in the live stream chat. Do you want to come on today? Check your Twitter, because I have a feeling Christians might be more likely to call in if they see you rather than just me. I'm too daunting, I think.
Or would be
I guess
point,
I don't think I would be surprised if he's asking what's the point of getting saved, because you get saved. That's pretty obvious. The point of but then, okay, now I'm saved. I got my fire insurance. What's the point of following Jesus? And see, this is, I think, an inaccurate bifurcation, because when you become a Christian, you change directions. By the way, I'm not teaching lordship salvation here.
Yeah, and if you don't change directions, then maybe you're not a true Christian.
As if Jesus isn't Lord of all, he's not Lord at all, because Jesus has never been Lord of all of my life or anyone I know, even you, Amy.
Oh, Greg.
Yeah.
I'm actually more interested into what Amy's going to say, and I've heard this before, because I know what Greg's going to say, but I think what's coming up from Amy is what I call Disneyland Christianity.
Because we all struggle with sin, even as Christians, and it's a process. So I'm not kind of getting into that whole thing, all right? I'm just simply saying, and this is a distinction that we see Paul making in Romans chapter 8. There are two trajectories of life. One, as he describes it, is after the flesh. The second is after the spirit. Okay? And if you are living according to the flesh because you are after the flesh, then you cannot please God.
Isn't it so interesting, like, looking back, being a Christian for so many years, this whole terminology, the flesh, walking in the flesh versus walking through in the spirit. Isn't it, like, if you're a former Christian, doesn't it kind of give you, I don't know, does it give you sentimental feelings? Does it give you the chills, the shivers? It's just really interesting.
It is impossible to do so. His words, not mine. And then he says to the Romans, Christians to which he's speaking, to whom he's speaking, but you are not in the flesh if the Spirit of God dwells in you. So now notice that Paul is using the phrase in the flesh and in the spirit different than we use it in common vernacular now. He's not saying, I went to church this morning and I was in the spirit, but then I went to the beach in the afternoon and boy, was I in the flesh. That's not the way he's using the language.
You notice he juxtaposes going to the beach to living in the flesh. I wonder why all those bikinis.
The flesh means to be unregenerate, and in the spirit means to be regenerate, regardless of what existential, experiential condition that you're in the moment, whether at church or at the beach, kind of thing. And so if by the Spirit, he says, you are putting to death the deeds of the flesh, you shall live. So the point I'm making here regarding the question is that there isn't some middle ground. There isn't somebody who is not in the flesh and therefore unregenerate and therefore unsaved, but regenerate, but not following Jesus.
Yeah, all this makes perfect sense if you're a Christian doing an internal critique. 1 Corinthians 6, I think, says, if you live a certain way, you shall not inherit the kingdom of heaven. There's nothing you can do as a work to get into heaven, but there's many things you can do as a work to keep yourself out.
Okay, there's only two trajectories. And if what you're doing is living exactly like everybody else who is in the flesh, then you are probably in the flesh too. I can't see into God's heart, but God can. And I think this distinction.
What's also interesting is living in the flesh is more than just actually going out and, getting drunk or shacking up with someone, shagging someone, having coitus with someone. It's more than just that. It's your thought life. It is just merely thinking about it. Hating your brother is murder. Thinking lustfully about the opposite sex or the same sex. Ooh, that's even worse. That's you're committing adultery in your heart.
This distinction is made for us there in Romans 8 so that we can see what characterizes one or the other. Those who are in the flesh aren't the nastiest people in the world. They're just ordinary folk that are living autonomously for themselves. Those who are in the spirit are characterized by putting to death the deeds of the flesh. These are the ones, Paul says, are led by the Spirit. And clearly, mark this, led by the Spirit. The phrase that Paul uses there is not getting nudges about what you should do for the rest of the day or what ministry you should go in or who you should marry. That is not the way Paul uses the term. He uses the term as characteristic of Christians who, as followers of Jesus,
man, this guy can talk,
are working with the Spirit to put to death the deeds of the flesh. He uses the term led by the Spirit exactly the same way in Galatians 5, and that's the only two places that it's used in the New Testament. So there are these two, God's word to be like Jesus. And actually that's all half and half. And not you're either in the flesh or of the flesh, nature of being a Christian.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. I finally found the spot where he stopped talking.
So I'm just going to add some things here in case his question was more about...
this is the person I wanted to hear.
Following Christ as opposed to being an atheist, or including all the things. Why should you turn to Christ?
Yes, why?
Because there are atheists who ask questions about this and think it's all about avoiding punishment or, something like that.
Or getting pleasure.
Now, obviously, there are a lot of benefits to following Christ, and Greg's talked about...
Like what?
Some of those. But Jesus is not a means to an end.
Jesus is not a means to an end? False. Jesus is precisely a means to an end. He is the way to salvation. Without a sin problem, there would be no need for Jesus to die on the cross. Sorry, Amy, but you're wrong.
The point of following Christ is to be with Christ.
Okay, this is why I'm going to call this Disneyland love, Disneyland Christianity. It's like, I just love Jesus because he's Jesus. That is so much full of baloney. It's like, someday my prince will come. Like, it's, why do you want to love Jesus?
That's why we do it. We want to be with Christ.
Why? Christians out there listening, why? Tell me very succinctly, precisely, why do you want to be with Jesus?
You know, I think about how upset the disciples were when Jesus said he was going away. Their concern wasn't, well, is he going to give us what we wanted? Are we going to get what we came for? No, they wanted to know where he was going to be. And he comforted them by saying, you will be with me. That was his response. Don't worry, you will be with me. My Father's house has many mansions. And so...
Why did the disciples want to be with Jesus?
They saw that as the point of following Christ, to be with Christ, such that when he was leaving, they were very concerned because that was the whole point. And so I think a lot of people don't really understand that. They want to know what we're getting out of it.
You are getting something out of it, Amy. You cannot answer, well, I just want to be with Jesus, full stop. There's a reason you want to be with Jesus. Let's see if she can articulate it.
We're getting a better life. Certainly, you are getting a life where you are fulfilling God's purposes for the way you're supposed to live. And when you're living according to the way reality is, there are things that will be better about your life than if...
Right, your life gets better, right?
You're going against that and you don't have to deal with guilt. You don't have to
deal with guilt. That's a huge one, right? You want to be with Jesus so you can live a better life, so you don't have to deal with guilt, right?
Deal with mainly guilt and trouble you cause in your life by doing things that go against the way God would have you live.
Yeah, you want to be with Jesus to help you make better decisions, right?
You don't go to hell. These are all great.
Yeah, that's a huge one. You don't want to go to hell. You want to prevent that suffering and you want to instead get pleasure. This whole Disneyland Christianity notion that I just want to be with Jesus, full stop, is ridiculous. You are getting something out of this belief. You are being selfish. It's for you. You have chosen to follow Jesus for a selfish reason, to be with Jesus so he can help you. Oh, this is going to bother some Christians, but I like bothering some Christians.
Benefits of following Christ.
Big one right there, yeah.
But the point is to be with Christ and to glorify God forever. And so...
why do you want to glorify God forever? Because he told you so? So what?
I'd say that's where I would take that. If somebody's asking that question to you, that's the point I would want to get across, because a lot of times we get stuck in, we're getting our sins forgiven. Yes, but that's not the ultimate point.
Okay, what's the ultimate point then?
The ultimate point is we're getting our sins forgiven so we can be reconciled to God.
So what? Why does anyone need to be reconciled to God? These are the questions you have to pound the Christian to get them to see that they are believers to get something out of it or to prevent something from bad from happening to them. And they hate to admit this, but you got to pull it out of them.
Mm-hmm.
I guess it's Ephesians 2 where it talks about how Jesus reconciled us. He saved us from our sins and he reconciled us to God as one body, Jews and Gentiles, because of what he did on the cross. That was the whole purpose, to reconcile us to God. So that is the ultimate purpose, even though there's a whole bunch of things that you can benefit from by following Christ.
That's really...
Yeah, and having your sins forgiven, being with Christ, is a benefit to you for all those reasons.
Important foundation, and I agree with everything. I'm going to offer another thought here, though.
Oh, is he going to disagree with Amy?
Because I don't think that non-Christians want to be with Jesus. All right. And what's interesting to me is
because they have this hatred in their hearts. They don't want to be with Jesus. One of the reasons why non-Christians don't want to be with Jesus is because the non-Christians believe he's dead. I'd rather be with someone alive than someone who's dead.
Is that the gospel that goes out in the book of Acts focuses on something else. And I was reading Martin Lloyd-Jones. We were talking about it off the air here a moment ago, and his treatment of the book of Romans. And he says the way the book of Romans starts is it talks about ungodliness and unrighteousness of men. So the introduction of the gospel entails those things. But he says ungodliness come first.
This is Greg Koukl's Calvinist leanings coming out here.
We are not like God. And instead, we are unrighteous, which makes us guilty. And because we're guilty, we are under the wrath of God, which is being revealed. And this is all in Romans chapter 1.
Jesus is angry with you. If you have not been saved, Jesus is angry. Very angry, wrathful against you.
And this is why I think that the gospel, when it's characterized in the book of Acts, for example, focuses more on that there is going to be a day of reckoning, and every person.
You notice Amy's answer was more like, I just want to have this Disneyland love with Jesus. Greg's answer, although he's not disagreeing with Amy, but Greg's answer is, no, Jesus is angry with you. And the only way to turn that wrath into redemption is to accept the gift or be regenerate, however you want to phrase it. It's almost the, do I dare say, male versus female, the stereotypical female answer versus the stereotypical male answer is like justice, love. Or is that too harsh? Or is it just maybe their personality types?
Will have to stand before God and give an account, being judged by someone who God gave the authority by raising him from the dead. Now, that's a line that comes from the Areopagus, in that Mars Hill speech, so to speak. And that's the way Paul is addressing those philosopher types, about the gospel. And so I think that there's a sense, not to negate what you said, but there's also a sense that the more immediate thing that is emphasized in Scripture is the danger people are in as rebels against God. And that rectifying that, being aware of their own guilt and their own vulnerability, are turning to God for mercy. And when they receive mercy, then they begin to experience characteristically the beauty of being in relationship and friendship with God, and they begin to realize their true end, that is, their true telos, what they were made for, to be in friendship with Him.
Yeah, and from the Christian point of view, when you're serving the purpose of why you were created, that's when you get the most peace, the most joy, the most meaning, the ultimate fulfillment.
And there we see in Psalms, for example, in thy presence is fullness of joy, and at thy right hand there are pleasures forever.
Pleasures, fullest joy. So when Amy says the purpose of what's the point of following Christ? Amy's answer was, so you can be with him. But who cares? Why does anyone want to be with Jesus? And Greg is rightly pointing out, because he can give you stuff. He can give you real purpose, real hope, real meaning. This is for you. Remember I did a video with, what's his name? Tyler Veda. Jesus died for me. It's, Christians, you don't want to hear this, but you got a really selfish religion. But I don't blame you for it. I think I just wanted to point that out to you and make you hopefully realize that John Piper called it something. I always forget what he called it, but it's like John Piper would call a righteous version of selfishness.
And so I think that part of at the front end is the awareness that people have, the front end of communicating the gospel, and that is people are awareness of their brokenness and their lostness before God, and some are more aware than others, or their guilt before God, and this drives them to a solution.
Yes. I've been saying this for years. It's so refreshing. This is where Christians like apologists like Greg Koukl and I can come together. He basically is admitting here that what drives someone to Christ is brokenness. What drives someone to becoming a Christian is desperation. You have to have a need first. This is why there are Christians today. There might even be Christians who last night, before they went to bed, they prayed for Pinecreek. And you know what they prayed for? That calamity will fall upon Pinecreek. Who knows? Maybe some Christians are praying that Pinecreek gets COVID. And that would be the impetus to have him fall on his knees, that fear of death, so he can go back to Christianity. If you want to convert people into Christianity, you have to first build a need. And that need is going to be nothing if you're content already, if you're fulfilled already, if you don't have a ton of problems in your life, that you don't have to pray to pay the electric bill. This is why Christians, evangelists, if you're going door to door, or if you're doing street preaching, or some type of seeker-sensitive type church service, you should focus your efforts on people under the age of 22, roughly, or people going through desperation in their lives. Go to AA, go to, I don't know, find out who's declared bankruptcy in the last week in your hometown. Those are the people. If you want to be successful, if you want to have a high hit rate, that's what you need to do. You can thank Pinecreek later.
Which, when they embrace the solution, then they see that it's so much more than just forgiveness. It's a restored companionship with God. And as Lewis puts it so elegantly, boy, I wish I would have written this. Oh,
yeah, restored companionship with God. This is always interesting to me because many Christians will talk about a personal relationship, but I know they struggle with this concept because they know that oftentimes this relationship with God comes to its fruition. That means completion or fulfillment for people in Georgia. It comes to its fruition through the lives of other Christians. It's like something bad happens to you in your life, and that's when you feel the closest to God. But how it manifests itself is your fellow Christian in the church giving you a hug, or that fellow member in your church writing you a check to help you get through the next month, or your spouse just helping you, making you dinner, or taking care of the kids so you can get a break, that sort of thing. And it's like, God is so good. God is so, look what he's done for us, what he's done for me. It's really people doing it. You know, story time. My sister, who died of MS, she and her husband often struggled financially. Part of the reason is they gave so much money to the church, but And my dad, who is fairly well off, would give them money or help pay some of their expenses. And it would frustrate me to no end. And Christians listening, you're going to resonate with this, I hope. It would frustrate me because my sister would say, give all the glory to God that they had enough money to pay for something. I'm going, no, it wasn't God who gave you that money. It was my dad, your dad. This happens so often in Christian circles where they give credit to God for things that happen in their lives when it's really human beings doing it. That just, it kind of, I don't know why it bothers me so much. Well, it bothers me, I think, because I'm going to appeal to the sense of fairness. You give credit where credit is due. If God didn't personally give you money, then don't thank God for it. Thank whoever gave you that money. Okay.
Drives me nuts when I read some of this stuff as a writer.
Nuts.
I wish I would have done that. But he says the door that we've been knocking on all of our lives will finally open. And he means to describe this yearning that all of us have for something beyond us, and we don't even know what it is, but we know we're incomplete without it. We were made for something better. And
I don't disagree with, I disagree with most of what he's saying here, but that yearning, I think, is evolutionary. And I think if you look at other great apes, like the silverback gorillas, there is this desire for a tribe of mammals to put one person in power and follow that person. And oftentimes it was to help the survival of the tribe. All we Homo sapiens did is we got rid of the silverback and we made it intangible, invisible, because there's less problems that way.
When we become Christians, this is when we begin realizing what that better thing is that we were made for, and we look forward to the upward calling and the hope of Christ Jesus.
Yeah, Greg, I agree that especially in terms of evangelism and things, you have to start with the bad news. That's absolutely true. I think when I hear, what's the point of following Christ?
Did you hear what she just said? When it comes to the gospel, converting people, you got to start with the bad news. Christians, have you figured this out yet? That Christianity came up with the bad news and then came with the solution to this bad news? Now, I know you'll say from the Old Testament that that's where the sin problem started. I get it. But the specific solution of Jesus Christ's crucifixion and death on the cross and his resurrection, that is meaningless if you don't have this bad news of hell first. Like, for example, if you are a Christian and you agree with Jews that Jesus or that God can just forgive without any violence, without any crucifixion, without any death, without any sacrifice, blood sacrifice. Think about that, blood sacrifice. The God you worship and serve, if you're a Christian, loves the smell, and if you're a Jew, loves the aroma of burnt flesh, loves the aroma of burnt blood. That's scriptural. Someone can even post the scripture in for me because I don't have time right now. But do you realize you need to start off with the bad news first in order for Christianity to make sense? To have Christianity mean anything at all? You have to have this concept of separation in hell. Otherwise, Christianity is just chaff in the wind. That says something, right?
I think more about, the way Peter says in 1 Peter, where he talks about be ready to give, make a defense to everyone who asks you to give an account for the hope that is in you. And so when I think about, he's talking about people who are being persecuted and they're staying strong and they're continuing to follow. Well, why would you do that? What's the point of that? That's kind of how I see that,
right,
that question. So yeah, so that the point, that the hope is the point, and that's to be with Christ.
Right.
And one other thing, like, even though I absolutely agree with you that you have to start with the bad news for anyone to get the good news, there's also something to, and this had a big impact on me, seeing somebody else who was glorifying God and seeing God through their eyes, even though I couldn't see it, it made me want to know more about what they were seeing. So what is this what do they get out of being with Christ? Why do they talk about him? Why are they glorifying him? Why are they saying these things about him? What is this thing? I think it's intriguing to people. If God is calling them, I think it is intriguing to people. And I think about other stories like we've talked about before, Richard Wurmbrand, the pastor in Romania who was in prison for being a Christian.
Right.
And the some of the guards...
Tortured for Christ was
Yes.
his book, right?
Yeah. Some of the guards, when they saw him not giving up Christ and going through torture and turning around and praying for them, they saw Jesus. When we say Jesus has always existed, do we mean physically or...
Okay, then they go to the next question. This, for some reason, this podcast remind me of something that I heard on Howard Stern's show, and it's something Alec Baldwin said. I want to play that because I really do think that Christianity does for Christians the same thing Scientology does for a person like Tom Cruise. Oh, Christians are going to hate this, but I really do think so.
Who's been shot out of a cannon and gone up into the stratosphere more than Tom? From when he was very young, he became a big movie star, risky business.
Right.
He was a kid.
Right.
He wasn't born, on a sound stage in Hollywood. He's from
Right. He was a kid.
He was an ordinary kid from New Jersey or whatever, and he becomes this phenomenon, and it just keeps going. It doesn't stop. It just keeps going and going and going. And he's been one of the biggest movie stars in the world for 25 years. I mean, that's a lot.
Yeah.
And I say to myself, maybe there's a religion or maybe there's a philosophy that helped him to negotiate that space, because you're getting the bends, man. You're like, who do I trust? What's real? And I say to myself, I don't care what you do. Whatever you need to do, whatever pill you need to take, whatever
Right.
diet you need to go on, whatever type of pillow you need to sleep on, who gives a shit?
It's none of your business.
It's none of your business.
Right.
It's like, if you're not hurting anybody, and I don't know that they're hurting anybody. I don't know that.
Right.
People
They are.
say things, and I go, okay, that's cool. I understand that there's some extreme situations there. But I say to myself, I go to work with Tom. We have a ball.
Yeah.
And it's like the height. It's like the height of movie making. You have a great time, and I really don't care.
Yeah, hearing Christians talk about the benefits of Christianity, being near to Christ, fulfilling your purpose on life, having this hope, reminds me of what Alec Baldwin said about Tom Cruise. It's like, think about Tom Cruise's life, all the stress of being famous. Like, he's been famous since I was in high school, and I'm an old guy. His first movie, Top Gun, came out when I was in grade 10, 11, 10. And the guy he's had a few minor meltdowns, I guess, but for the most part, he's a pretty stable guy. He's pretty much a stable guy based on a completely false worldview, in my opinion. Well, yeah, it's false. Christians, you're agreeing with me, right? You're nodding your head. What if Christianity is to you the same as Scientology is to Tom Cruise? It's your means to navigate life, to not have these meltdowns, to give you this sense of purpose, when really the whole thing is false. If it works for Tom Cruise, why couldn't it work for you? But anyhow, I think Erin is in here. Let's see if we can get it to work. I've never had Erin on here before. Erin, can you hear me? I surprised her. Maybe I should turn this off just in case she's inappropriate. Erin is in here. Let's see if... Hey, Erin, here she comes. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, perfect. How are you doing?
Let me turn my stream off. How's my volume?
Pretty good. Is Erin a lot louder than me in the live stream chats? Can someone tell us? So I was thinking, Erin, that if they saw you here, they being Christians or maybe even Muslims, they might be more likely to come on and talk.
Yeah, a little less less scary.
Am I scary, you think?
No.
So I watched a little bit. I didn't watch the whole thing, but of your interview with Seth Rogen. Seth Rogen? What's his name? Seth Farland?
Oh, not Seth Rogen.
That's the actor.
Seth Andrews.
Seth Andrews. Seth Rogen's he's that Jewish actor, right? Yeah, who has a weird laugh. So I watched some of that.
That's my goals.
And so it sounds like we have some things in oh, they're saying you're a little loud. I'm going to turn you down a bit. We have some things in common. No, I'll turn you down. You don't have to worry about it.
Okay.
So I wasn't clear, is your husband still a believer or not?
Yes, he is.
Okay. So you're like me in that my wife is still a believer. Has his needle moved at all?
I would say so. Yeah. I think that we both started off evangelical, and I think he's moved more towards the universalist, a little bit more of a progressive type of Christian. Yeah.
That's interesting. I wonder if the Pinecreek theorem is working with you.
Could be. Yeah. Well, he definitely was introduced to evangelical Christianity through girls when he was a teenager.
Because I thought my wife would have moved more to universalism after I left Christianity, but I asked her, I don't know, a month ago, and she hasn't budged. She still thinks I'm going to, well, no, she doesn't think I'm going to hell, but she thinks I'm going to eventually come back to Christ.
Right.
I'm sure most of your loved ones say the same thing, right?
Yeah, that I have something still.
You got a burning in your bosom.
There's something still there. The foundations are still there that I will eventually come around out of this phase.
Do you think what do you think that would take for you to actually return to Christianity?
Well, I don't know, because I was a Pentecostal Christian, so a lot of the kind of personal experiences for me, it would definitely have to be something that I've never seen before. Something that I think your 2 Kings thing is pretty cool. Something like that. Something that couldn't be repeated outside of that setting.
Yeah. It would have to be something amazing for me as well. I don't think there's any way. So what did you hear what I was just playing with Amy Hall on Stand to Reason?
Yeah, I missed the first bit, but I got in for the last part.
What would you have said as a Christian is the reason why anyone should follow Christ?
When I was a Christian, it would have definitely been the focus on hell, and specifically in my denomination, the rapture. The rapture was a big part of it, almost more than the talk about hell. It was the fear of being left behind at the rapture and going through the tribulation, the torture, that sort of thing.
Yeah.
So you want to be a Christian so you don't get left behind and have to go through that. That was the theology that I grew up with.
Did you speak in tongues?
Oh, wait, I still do.
Can you do it for us now or no?
I can't. It is intensely personal. I've tried to work myself up to doing it in front of people, but I even as a Christian, I had a hard time doing that in public. So I still can, and I.
What if I do
prefer
this?
Not to.
What if I do this and nobody can see you now?
No, thanks.
No. I had a young woman on, I don't know, 3 years ago who left. She was Pentecostal as well, or Pentecostal leaning, and she spoke in tongues, just that drop of a hat, and she still got the great feelings.
Yeah,
like endorphin rush. Do you get that too?
Yeah, so sometimes I still do it, just when I'm in trying to be nice and calm, and I do still see that it is a bit of a self-hypnosis type state that I can go into really easily. Yeah, I still do it. I still do it in the shower sometimes, places where I feel like I'm quite alone. To me, it's almost embarrassing, but I still do it.
So what is your passion now that you don't have the hope of eternal life? What gets you out of the bed in the morning? Why aren't you just a nihilist?
Yeah, I still really, I actually find since I deconverted, I actually feel like I have more excitement for my day. I'm a mom. I get out of the bed literally because my kids are telling me to, and I I feel like I have more time to like kind of seek out the day-to-day experiences, like going for walks in the woods and experiencing things that I would have thought to be almost pointless before, because it had nothing to do with, saving souls or just seeking God in those ways. So like I love art, I love music, I still love all those things even more so, I would say, now, because I try to seek out those kind of experiences on the daily basis now. And then just family and friends. I don't know. None of that's changed.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm surprisingly, the relationship I have with my parents is still pretty good. My dad gave me a letter once saying that I'm leading my kids to hell. But other than that, it's been pretty good. Do you still have a little bit of fear of hell, even though you're not a believer anymore?
At first I did. I had quite a lot of nightmares and in the beginning, but the more I just looked into the history of how hell came about as a theology, as part of the theology, now I very rarely even think about it, and when I do, right away I kind of jump to those things that I've read about how it started. So no, not really.
Yeah, for me it was.
It seems silly to me now.
Yeah, very silly. For me, it was when I was a Christian. I was just picturing a Jew in the Pentateuch on his deathbed, and would they be worrying about hell? Like, there's no indication of that they should be worried that they'll spend eternity in a place called hell. For, let's say, doing some type of sin. So it's just like, if hell is such an important thing in Christianity, why isn't it mentioned in the Pentateuch as a place for people to spend eternity in? It just...
Yeah, that was a huge part for me during my, the deconstruction of my faith. Was I was learning about how the afterlife was represented in the Old Testament. It's not there, like the idea of eternal conscious torment or anything like that. It's not there. That I've read a lot of the books by New Testament scholars, and there just doesn't seem to be a consistent idea, like going from the Old Testament to the New Testament.
Guess, this is completely off topic. Guess what percentage of my viewers are female?
I don't know. Probably I would say not as many. I've noticed that there's this whole area is dominated by guys, and I want to break into it a little bit. I would say 30%.
30%? It's 9.6.
Oh my gosh.
So I need your opinion. What's going on here? Why don't the people of the female persuasion want to listen to Pinecreek?
I don't know. That's a great question. I know, when I found your channel, I was already out, but I loved your perspective on it. And I had mentioned before that seeing the humor, kind of being able to laugh at yourself a little bit, was a big part for me, coming out of my kind of angry atheist phase. I think, I'm not sure, maybe I'm thinking back to when I was a Christian, it would have startled me to see somebody casually kind of looking at these things and finding a little bit of humor in it. It would have been kind of scary at the time. I don't know.
Do you think I should stop saying I work for Satan? Think maybe that's it?
That's definitely gonna scare some people away, for sure.
Yeah. But my goal is to have them become numb to it. I want the Christian to kind of like me, but I understand that they're going to just vehemently disagree with me.
Yeah.
But if they keep hearing me say I work for Satan, and yet I'm a nice guy and I'm smiling, they kind of become numb to it. They'll just, them hearing me say this, they say, oh, this is even worse. He's manipulating me, my emotions and my intellect to become numb to these ideas, which are very, very dangerous.
Yeah, I would say that there's this element, especially in being in the women's kind of Bible study setting, it was almost like you don't want to even talk about it, because it could
open up a pathway of
Yeah, you've got the footholds and the opening the doors, and I think that women are more maybe prone to just being like, I'm not even going to think about it. So when they hear something like that, unless they've kind of deconstructed some of the idea behind Satan, they're going to turn it off because out of fear. They're not going to be able to hear it. But I mean, I personally love it.
because I invited, I think, at least 6 major female apologists onto my show. I only got one response, and she just kept on pushing it back, and I finally gave up. What was her name? I forget.
SJ.
No. Actually, I've had SJ on, but I don't consider her. Have you talked to SJ before on her show?
Oh yeah. She considers me a nice atheist. She follows me on Twitter.
Okay. But that's what you should do, probably, is start your own channel and
working on it
and get female apologists on.
Yeah, I definitely it's in the works. I've got pretty small kids right now, so I still have my youngest one is home most of the time. So I am planning on starting something. I've started doing quite a few. I've got kind of a semi-regular show that I just started with a friend, Notes from Autumn. So I'm going to keep working on it, because I do feel like there's a gap there still for like the women who have come out of, or who are even questioning. I always think about myself as like especially the last 10 years I was a Christian, like I wish I would have found somebody who would have been like a safe place to go listen to, where it wouldn't have freaked me out or anything. So I'd like to fill in that little gap there, because I feel like there's a lot more women who are doubters than would ever admit.
Yeah. Do you think just having kids causes a lot of women not to even question their faith?
Yeah, I do. I think that your theorem about the women coming back to church with kids, it was true for me. I had kind of stopped caring so much about it, and then I had my oldest, my daughter, she's almost 9 now, and that was what urged me to go back to church. And then there is this idea that even if you are having like doubts and you're unsure about it, it's still the best lifestyle, the best kind of influence that you can have on your kids. And that's something that's just not even questioned, especially like in the Bible studies and the women's groups. I was a part of those a lot. It's not even brought up whether this is the best way to be raising your kids. Of course it is. So there is a lot of fear there. And I've talked to other women who in my groups where we were struggling, and it always came up. Like, I'm really glad still that I'm here for my kids constantly. Mm-hmm.
They think their kids are going to grow up to be like terrible people if they leave the church?
I think it's like a fear of that they'll maybe fall into some more lifestyle problems when they become teenagers. Will get into drugs and alcohol and premarital sex and that sort of thing, or sex.
Coitus, we call it here on the Pinecreek channel.
Coitus, that they'll possibly go down the route of premarital coitus, and possibly go to hell. There's nothing more scary for a parent to think of your kid being tortured. And I don't remember personally anybody in those groups ever talking about like, hey, what about the whole idea of kids being tortured and how like no, it doesn't kind of go that far. So maybe I'd like to introduce that conversation a little bit. Like, yeah, that's definitely a scary thought, but let's talk about whether that's an actual threat.
Do you remember the first time you seriously started doubting Christianity and you felt like, okay, I'm on the cliff, this is it? And what was that impetus that pushed you off the cliff?
The first time, well, I think I had doubts going back all the way into my late teens. So I'm 35 now. I had some doubts, but I just pushed them aside for a long time. So one of my first triggers that led to my actual kind of deconversion was, and it's kind of it ties into what we were talking about with this last video, was Christianity wasn't working for me. Like the promises that kind of were preached at me for all those years, it wasn't working for me. For me, I struggled with anxiety and depression, and I ended up going to counseling and learning a bunch of coping techniques with counseling. And I the thought really was just for me, how come the Bible doesn't say anything about this? And the idea that like Jesus and the Holy Spirit are supposed to be the comforters, but yet they didn't really help anybody that I could see with sustained mental health.
Do you think the fact that you came from a Pentecostal background made it worse? Because this is what I love about Pentecostals. They have high expectations of God, not like these phony Baptists out there who just think God just sits in heaven, does nothing. But you used to believe that God actually does stuff.
Mm-hmm. I do think that affected it. I did have really high expectations of God, and so for me, when I started to have my doubts, my struggles, and going through the process, like I was really stressed. It was very, very important to me that I figured it out. It felt very urgent. And then when I started to lose the faith, it was just, it felt very, very dramatic. And so someone like my husband, who never grew up in the Pentecostal church, like the urgency wasn't there for, like, during our conversations. It was almost like, why is this such a big deal? Because for him, it's a total, his upbringing and his entire faith has been like a totally different expectation level. I totally think that had to do with the type of Christianity that I grew up in.
Yeah, like when I was raised Mennonite, Joe the Pilato is waiting. I remember him. We'll get to you in a second, Joe. Being raised Mennonite, God didn't work for you. You work for yourself. Like, basically, don't expect anything from God. It's like, he's given you health. He's given you a mind. The rest is up to you. And so that's the perspective I came from. I was going to ask you something else. Yeah, I started doubting at 35 as well. I don't know if that's a magic number. How old are your kids? Are they?
My daughter is 8, almost 9, and my son is 4.
Okay. And
that was a part of it too, is that when my daughter was like around 7, they started asking these questions. Like, they start getting these bigger questions in their mind. And one of the questions she asked me was like, Mommy, how does God make people? And then she said, is it kind of like magic? And I remember just thinking, I actually don't know how to answer this. I guess so. And this is when I was like still a Christian. So that I didn't know how to answer her. And it really bothered me that I couldn't answer authentically. And that if I said, something kind of was already bugging me about the whole idea of creation versus evolution by natural selection, because I knew enough about that knew that there was a tension there.
Hi, Joe.
Hey, Doug. How's it going?
I would say about an 8 out of 10.
8 out of 10. I've been watching your show for a while now. It's been how long since we've had our last conversation?
2 years, maybe.
Probably 2 years. That sounds about right.
Do you know Erin? Erin meet Joe. Joe meet Erin.
Hi, Joe.
Hey. Okay,
I'm gonna try to summarize Joe's life based on our last conversation.
Well, a lot has changed, but go ahead.
Oh, a lot has changed. Well, last time we talked, you were a Christian, but I would say like more of a Pete Enns type Christian.
Yeah.
And which I respect. You were basically, you would spit on fundamentalism. I don't think you believed in hell. At least not the type of hell that Erin came from. But what has changed?
Yeah. Well, so I guess probably from the first conversation, more has changed. Yeah. It must have been that second conversation. Actually, you helped a lot. Just the first time, actually being able to question what you believe and actually having some sort of critical insight. Yeah. So I'm definitely agnostic to knowledge. I do still identify with the Christianity. I call myself a Christian, but But
Do you believe Jesus Christ rose from the dead for your sins?
I'm agnostic about that. It's one of those things. And this is like the key thing as far as most people will say, okay, well that counts you out,
Right.
of identifying with the tradition, and I respect that. And a lot of people I care about would say
It doesn't bother you?
it doesn't bother me that people would put me on an outside group. Well,
Yeah.
I mean, you don't want to be outside of any group, right?
Oh, I do.
In relationships,
I do.
As far as in relationships go, it's one of those things that if you can, if you consider people as outsiders, it's never good for those relationships. So
I forget.
it bothers in that sense, right?
I forget. Remind me. Are you married with kids?
Yep.
Or?
Yeah, married with kids.
And so, how's that been? Like, is your wife agnostic now too, or?
It's
Uh-oh.
probably more so. It's not dissimilar from your relationship, I would imagine.
Oh, really? That bad?
But
No, mine's not bad.
Yeah, a lot more okay with it.
Okay.
So yeah, it's not real. There's no real tension here. And
So you're okay.
I am a Christian, and as far as what historically happened in first century, I don't know.
You sound like a Dennis MacDonald type Christian. Like was it Dennis MacDonald who called himself a Christian because he admires the pacifism that Jesus kind of put forth, which a lot of American Christians reject, that it's not pacifistic at all. But the Mennonites and the Hutterites figured that out, that Jesus was really teaching pacifism. But so is that what you're kind of like a cultural Christian?
I don't know what that means. to be honest, what a cultural Christian actually means. As far as what Jesus taught, like if you're a humanist, right? If you're agnostic humanist, right? I think you would identify and agree with a lot of Jesus' teachings, as well as as Gandhi and a whole bunch of other people, right? But in terms of what I lean into as far as being very plausible, and I live my life towards, is based on Christ, based on the narrative of Jesus as revealed in the scriptures.
Okay, are you okay with me and Erin? Yeah, get your question ready. Don't forget it.
Yeah.
But are you okay with
Put me
Erin
on the spot? Yeah. Go ahead.
with Erin and I causing doubt and anxiety in you?
Yeah. Well, Doug, I've watched most of your content, so it's not going to be anything new. But go ahead.
Okay. Well, Erin, why don't you go first?
So I identify as a humanist, and I have a couple of passages that I definitely find trouble with the story of Jesus. So the stuff about his idea about separating yourself from your family, and
oh sure.
Yeah, so there's the passages in Mark
and
where he denies his family.
Yeah.
Well, no, I kind of do get the cultural reference to that a little bit, but and then the exactly kind of what you were talking about with the othering and the us versus them. There's quite a bit of that throughout his sermons. There is quite a bit of binary thinking that way, and I felt like that's very not very humanistic.
Yeah, I'll pull what I think is probably the way that we're going to read it without having a background in Semitic thought in the first century. Is what we get when we read that is probably quite different from what the authors who are writing these narratives were even thinking. I'm not prepared to do like a deep dive. Here's what I think it means, but I would say there's a good chance it doesn't mean what you may think on the surface, and I'm just from the original author's intention. But I'm not prepared to actually describe what I think specifically that is. But I totally. There's a lot of things that.
How do you? When he talks about like separating the goat and the goats and the sheep and that sort of thing, I don't.
Yeah.
I'm struggling to see how that could mean anything other than dividing people.
Yeah. So in the whole Hebrew scriptures, the whole idea of like day of the Lord and the hope and the way that God works with creation and humanity is ultimately allowing people to experience consequences of the choices that they make. And a lot of times the way that you write about these things and the way that the ancient Hebrew authors would write about judgment or justice or things that God actively acting is a way of talking about essentially God. It's the rule of the created order that God creates is essentially God acting in effect through the natural causes that people bring upon themselves is kind of a synonymous terminology to refer to two things at once. So when it talks about like separating the sheep and the goats, and you'll hear passages that talk about, eternal destruction and you'll be cast out forever. I'm not sure if you've done much just looking into different Christian traditions, the way that they've seen it. Certainly, right, if coming from a Pentecostal background, they will teach you it's saying the original authors were saying a very specific thing. So they're interpreting it for you. But if
my next question would just be that, like, does it bother you that the writings are so unclear to the point where we have so many different interpretations?
No, why should it? I'm not an inerrantist, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with like Piedance. I think he's a popular figure in that, and I'd probably answer similar to him in the terms of I'm not sure we would expect it to bother us unless we expect this text to be something different than what it actually is.
I'll tell you what bothered me was that, like, if it's an extremely important message that that there's obviously some sort of consequence, even if it's within this lifetime, if it's of ultimate importance, why is it unclear?
Yeah, but I think I would be expecting of the authors of these texts way more than anyone could expect from the people. They had no idea what this was going to turn into, and these people were writing about what they thought was the truth about the whole created order as being revealed of God in humanity and bringing ultimately all of humanity the hope of being brought back to life and Garden of Eden imagery in terms of peace. You see in Revelation, the lion lying down with the lamb as a metaphorical end of war, and God working through humanity. But with the people and the authors, you can't. These are people, right? And what bothers me is what humanity has done with these texts. Is we think it's this thing, and you create wars and you kill people and you use it to say, here's what it means, and here's why I'm going to treat this, and this group horribly.
Hey, Joe, a lot of people in the live stream chat are totally confused by you, so let's set the record straight.
Yes. Okay, good.
Just 1 or 2 word answers if you could. Do you believe a God exists?
I lean yes.
Okay. Do you believe Jesus rose from the dead bodily? Lean yes, lean no. I don't know.
Yes. I lean yes.
Okay, so then I would say you are still a Christian then.
Well, thanks, Doug. That means a lot to me. Wow.
Yeah, so now I'll keep you on.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Yeah.
I was about to boot you.
Yeah. Only theists are allowed on.
And Erin.
Or ExXtian.
Yeah. Okay. Now, why do you lean that Jesus rose from the dead bodily?
Yeah. So that's one that probably as anything else I would say is one of the strangest things that I lean into. In terms of any expectation of prior evidence, I don't think there's any sufficient evidence.
Okay, stop there. Stop there.
Yeah.
You believe Jesus Christ rose from the dead for insufficient reasons?
Well, I said I lean yes.
Okay, but why do you lean yes if there's insufficient evidence for Jesus rising from the dead?
For this one, ultimately, it comes down to the way that This is not this for me is not a hill that I would die on. Pardon the pun. But it's for me, it's more of a really intuitive, personal experience type of reason. I don't think I could ever get any better of a reason than that for this single claim. And I wouldn't expect you or anyone else to believe based on just the historical, here this and this happens, therefore this must have happened. I think that's just a ridiculous.
So you're like Laura Robinson, who I had on. Did you ever watch that?
Oh yeah. I think she's great. Yeah, so I probably answer similarly.
Okay,
so if a lot more confident in that type of thing than I am.
Okay, so I'm hearing you say that you believe the bodily resurrection of Jesus Christ because of a more personal reason, experiential.
Sure. Yeah.
Do you think that
what happened?
Yeah. Well, before we get into the details of what happened, do you think this spiritual experience or this experience that you're about to say is going to impact me or Erin in the slightest?
Oh, of course not. Yeah.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Now, notice how quickly you answered that. You said, "Of course not." Now, if it doesn't impact me or Erin in the slightest, why does it impact you? Okay. Now you can.
Well, sure, yeah.
Now describe this personal experience.
Yeah. It's not a singular personal experience. It's more of just it's hard to explain right why I lean towards this, and it's something that it's something that I hold very loosely in terms of ability to lean one way or another. It could be just as easily that this was something that never happened, and I think the evidence fits that claim quite well as well. Right? I think it's very plausible.
But there's still something that causes you to believe it. Did you think it's like what Plantinga says? It's like some type of sensus divinitatis, some mystical X factor?
Yeah, you start speaking Latin, and I
yeah, I understand. But
yeah, I'd say probably really where it starts at. And if I wasn't in this place in terms of leaning into theism, this other conversation would be essentially meaningless. Because unless I thought there was potential precedent in the way I approach life, such that it wouldn't be a blatant contradiction to, let's say I leaned into naturalism, right? There's just no form of evidence that could bring me to that kind of conclusion. So
which conclusion? That Jesus didn't rise from the dead, or did?
No, I mean, if I'm starting with kind of a naturalistic assumption about the order of the universe, there's no type of physical evidence or psychological impression that I could have in my life that would bring me ever to a place.
Give me a reason why you should not believe Jesus Christ rose from the dead based on personal experience.
A reason why I should believe that he didn't raise from the dead?
Yeah.
Oh,
tell me why that's a bad reason.
There's no physical evidence that we have in the world for anything of.
No, you misunderstand. Try to predict what me or Erin would say to you or ask you. Why?
Oh, sure.
Why? What's the reason why you should not believe Jesus Christ rose from the dead, based on the reasons you gave us, personal experiences?
Oh, sure. Well, personal experiences are clearly not reliable sources of truth. We know that through a wide variety of worldviews, which are contradictory, and they can't all be true. So we know personal experiences are absolutely unreliable, and you can't trust those. You want to have a secondary method.
Okay, so now if they're unreliable,
yes.
Now, do you believe that, what you just said? Or are you just saying I would say?
I mean, it's absolutely true.
Okay.
Yeah, of course, they're not reliable.
Okay, so are you telling me you believe Jesus Christ rose from the dead for unreliable reasons?
Yes. And
you're okay with that?
Well, I think most everything we believe for unreliable reasons. So yes.
Well,
of course I'm okay with that.
I believe that this pen will drop towards the ground when I let go. Is that an unreliable reason?
It's ultimate. Yeah. So ultimately, on our approach to knowledge as a whole, and our confidence on knowledge as a whole, yes, it's unreliable. Although things go in probabilities, which right. It really comes down to the way that we lean into what we expect and assume for our ontology, and if we expect the world to behave in really what we think is at the foundation of existence. And I think that ultimately helps inform the ways that we approach a lot of the other
But
things
there's something so
life.
curious about this. Why?
Yeah.
My guess is you don't believe in many things for unreliable reasons. Like you like reliable reasons to believe things in almost every other aspect of your life. What is it about this belief where you change?
Yeah. Well, don't forget, I lean into this. Right?
I understand.
But it can be, it's
like, are you almost at 50-50 right now, or?
Let's call it 51-49.
Okay.
So it's essentially,
we might see a deconversion on air live today.
Yes, do it, Doug.
We only need 2 percentage points.
Yeah. But I could call this analogous to, do you trust your intuitions, Doug?
I would say
more than 50%.
Oh.
Do you think it's better than a coin flip?
Yeah, I would, but what's more important is the question, how would I know?
I agree. Yeah.
How would I know when I'm wrong? That's the more important question.
Sure. Okay, and I'm telling you, I don't think I could know if I'm wrong. But if you have an intuition, which you said yourself, you think is better than a coin flip, but if you're not able to reliably falsify what you have an intuition for, based on your own claim, you would lean into your intuition.
Right, but I would not
justified reason, which is unreliable. So it's
but this is the difference I see.
I'm the same way.
The difference I see is I would not place a high credence, a high amount of confidence in these unfalsifiable claims. So let's say,
how much confidence am I putting into it, though?
Well, are you putting 51% confidence in that Jesus Christ rose from the dead?
Sure.
Okay. But that is would you say is an unfalsifiable claim?
I think it's probably falsifiable.
How would you falsify whether or not Jesus Christ rose from the dead?
Archaeological evidence, right?
Oh, if we found the bones of Jesus?
Sure.
But even then, couldn't you just go to the spiritual resurrection?
Sure.
Kind of
well, yeah. If you wanted to go there, sure. And who knows, right? They're early within the first century after Jesus' death, a huge percentage of the Christians, basically, they said Jesus was never physically there. It was just a spiritual illusion, right?
Yeah.
So sure, right? And it's
I understand that. Like the Docetists.
You could pull that move. You have to ask, okay, is it?
I think there are a lot of Christians that take that position right now as well.
Sure.
Yeah.
Before you came on, Joe, I played a clip of Alec Baldwin talking about Tom Cruise in Scientology. Did you see that?
I know. I missed it. No, I just came on right before.
If Tom Cruise was in here with us,
that'd be great. You get Tom Cruise. Go ahead.
And if he said, I'm 51% confident, just over a coin flip, that Scientology is true.
Yeah.
Would you say he should still believe in Scientology? Based on intuition?
I think when you lean into intuition, I think really the next question you really ought to be asking yourself is, how is that affecting the way you live? Because honestly, if you say you're 51% confident in unicorns, right? I'll have some other questions to ask you. But first of all, right, if I'm going to care about that at all, I'm going to say, okay, well, how does that affect Doug in Doug's life and Doug's family? And through a humanist perspective, how does that affect?
That's a great question.
That I personally find valuable.
Yeah, that was my next question too. Is that if you were to flip to 49% sure to the point where you didn't lean to the positions you're at right now, how would you go about your day different? Like, how would your day-to-day life change?
It probably wouldn't change that much at all. Yeah, completely honest. Yeah, it probably would not change as far as about like a bodily resurrection. You're saying? Yeah,
I think the framework that you're looking at your life at the world with, that there is ultimately this direction towards reconciliation,
Yeah.
and peacefulness, and like if you became unconvinced that was directed by some sort of divinity, would you change the way that you looked at the world and the way that you acted?
As far as I can
Because
tell,
would it still be desirable for naturalistic reasons of why we should still head towards a peaceful society?
So I probably wouldn't change the way that I lived my life much at all, including the types of people and the conversations that I have with people. But I also think now this doesn't really have bearing on what I lean into as far as my expectations of what is true and what describes reality. I do think some forms of faith practices and beliefs are ultimately going to be more beneficial to humanity when you're able to more easily ground the ways you live into something maybe more hopeful, regardless of our ability to justify the claims that are being held to.
Wait a minute. Are you? I was talking to someone in the chat, but are you now making a practical argument?
Yeah. So I'm saying this is separate, and I think is related to what you're saying, Erin. Is I think practically, humanity could engineer a faith that would be beneficial to humanity.
It's called humanism.
Well, no, it's
humanism with a scotch of Buddhism, I think is
scotch.
No, it's
good word.
Yeah, and I'd say the weakness that humanism has is there's no tie to a reason why ontologically, right? It doesn't say anything to the psychopath, essentially.
Okay, let me summarize up what you're saying, Joe. You believe in God. You believe that Jesus Christ rose from the dead, but you lean like just barely believe it. Sounds like.
Well, I'm agnostic. So using these in terms of percentage confidences is not really an accurate representation because I'm agnostic to.
Okay, I can figure this out quickly. Do you pray?
Yeah.
What do you pray about? Tell me about the last time you prayed. What exactly words did you use? I can tell you if you're really a believer or not.
Oh, sure. Yeah, I communicated with what I would call God, and for hope for other people, for encouragement for others, right?
Okay. Yeah. See, you notice, Erin, what he didn't say. He didn't pray for anything specific.
Yeah.
Just general attributes to help. Yeah.
I was wondering too if like you maybe like I know I struggled with this a little bit with prayers, like do I focus more on like the gratitude and like the looking around and being aware of the things that I was thankful for, but it was hard for me not to focus on what I needed from God and what I was hoping for. So I would often spend a lot of time trying to balance those two things out.
Are you familiar with the Liturgist Network? The Liturgists, they have like a podcast.
I am. I've only listened to a few of their episodes, but I'm totally aware of them.
Yeah, no, it's one thing. It's for people deconstructing or even constructing or agnostic. I think it's
reconstruction. I think is one of the terms that's used. Yeah,
sure. And they're not that's not what they are. There's just people of all different perspectives on how they approach the big questions and the way that you should live. But in terms of, I don't know if you know Mike McCard, but a lot of, if you look up any of his stuff, he's one of the guys on the podcast. Just the approaches, it's really a scientifically based way of coming at life. And
hey, just to let you guys know, I want to let a guy named Brandon in, so I'm going to boot you, Joe. Is that all right? So just finish up.
Just me?
No, I'm going to boot you. I'm going to keep Erin, and I'm going to let Brandon in to replace you.
My feelings are hurt.
No. I think you're a great
conversation.
Yeah, you're a great guy. I think you get something out of the belief, obviously, and and maybe it's this hope, meaning, purpose in a very general sense. And I don't think you would ever hurt or defy. I think you're not going to vote in ways to hurt people, I don't think. I think if you and I were to go out and we would enjoy each other's company and have a beer or go golfing or whatever.
Yeah, if you're ever in the New England area.
I doubt it.
I'm in Canada.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, you're talking to two Canadians right now. What province are you in, Erin?
I'm in BC, British Columbia.
Yeah.
Oh, that explains it. You guys are from Canada.
I grew up in Saskatchewan, so I'm very familiar with
near where?
Doug's kind.
Doug's kind.
Where do you know where
Regina,
the border? No, closer to like I grew up in Lloydminster, so it's like on the border between Alberta and Saskatchewan. And I went to Bible college in Saskatoon, and I met tons of people from Manitoba there.
Oh, okay. Oh, I even went to Bible. Yeah, nice.
They did, yeah.
Anyhow,
yeah, so if you're interested a little bit more into maybe some things I went into, yeah, just check out more of some of the liturgist podcasts. There's a lot of things that I
sure, yeah.
Yeah.
See you, Joe.
All right. Good talking to you.
Nice meeting you.
Okay. What happened? Oh, I know what happened. Can you hear me, Brandon? Brandon, you need to unplug your mic and either get a new one or right now it's all static. And do you want to? maybe it isn't Brandon. Maybe it's Satan.
It sounds like Satan, yeah. From what I can remember, yeah. Or. Oh wow.
That is Brandon. We can't hear you.
I'm having flashbacks to like passion plays and things like that.
Yeah. So what did you? My theory on Joe, getting back to Joe, is it just feels too good to be a Christian, call yourself a Christian, and just feels too bad to leave it.
Yeah, I think there's like that. Not even an ultimate level comfort, but like just a consistency like in your day-to-day life. I think it's hard to think about stepping out of, like he had mentioned at the beginning of his call, was like nobody wants to be on the outside of a group. I think that there's a lot of cohesion that stay, when you're still in that, so you're going to continue to look for the good.
Yeah, that's a good observation that you caught that he, like, I'm the type of guy, being from rural Manitoba, being outcast is a badge of honor. It's
I think I feel that a little bit too. I think I like being a little bit of a little contrarian. Like it doesn't bother me to be kind of going against what people expect from me, I guess.
Maybe
anymore,
that's why
anyway.
We're atheists.
Maybe, yeah.
Like if there should be some, well, actually there was a study done. In fact, I was going to play this. Where is it? Why atheists become Christians. Did you see that on the Unbelievable channel? Yeah.
No, I haven't seen that.
So there's always theories. The Christians are always trying to figure out why Christians become atheists or leave Christianity. And then guys like me are always trying to figure out why do people become Christians at later in age in life. But maybe it does have something to do with.
I think it's actually a.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think it's pretty clear. We don't need to keep hypothesizing about why. Like you just ask each other, and use a little bit of what's the word again? The good listening, charitable listening to each other. I mean, people will tell you why they left or why they joined. Sorry, I lost my train of thought.
Yeah, there should only be one good reason to leave Christianity or Islam or any religion, and that is you become convinced it's not true.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only good reason to leave, in my opinion. If you leave because you were hurt in the church, well, that's a good reason to leave that particular church, but that's not a good reason to leave the religion.
Yeah, I've had this conversation many times with people talking about like my process coming out, because I went through several different periods of like, oh, I left Pentecostalism about 13 years before I actually deconverted. And because I recognized that something wasn't sitting right with that. So, but I didn't leave the faith. I moved to a different type of different denomination. And like, I think I went through probably 4 or 5 substantial deconstructions while still in my faith, because I didn't leave just because something was wrong. Ultimately I left because I realized I wasn't convinced that it was true.
Here's my advice on how to talk to apologists. Tell me what you think about it. Oh, I sound like a Canadian there. Avoid philosophical arguments for God when you're talking to a Christian or an apologist. Mm-hmm. Because these are not, the belief in a God, a deity, a creator God even, it doesn't impact their day-to-day life. What impacts their day-to-day life is the nature of this God, what it is like, how it interacts with its creation, which gets you to specific theism. So when you talk to a Christian, this is my advice to any atheist, any non-Christian listening. When you're talking to a Christian and they bring up the Kalam cosmological argument, they bring up the ontological argument, just kind of nod your head and smile, or if you're doing it via text, change the topic to, but let's talk about what really impacts your life. When you get up in the morning and you pray or you read the Bible, that's what we should talk about. Because who cares if there's a deity out there if we can't know anything about him? And so the way you talk to apologists and Christians in general, is to get specific about what really matters to them. And I guarantee you, for the vast, vast majority of Christians, philosophical arguments for God are ways to help them not feel stupid for what they believe. These are not the real reasons they do believe or came into the belief. It might be reasons why they stay in the belief, and it doesn't come close to the rubber hitting the road. Do you agree with all that?
I do, yeah. I'd never even heard of any of the philosophical arguments for God until after I was well on my way to deconstructing. It never came up. And
these things, when you were deconstructing, they didn't help you to stay in Christianity?
No, I expected they would. I was really shocked when I first started seeing these interactions with the philosophical arguments, and that how much I was disappointed in the theistic arguments, and when you put them up against each other, and I saw some, the debates, I was really disturbed by the fact that I was wholly unconvinced, because I thought, if it's true, then these arguments are all going to kind of make sense to me, and it's going to sit right with me, but it didn't. But none of those things had ever come up in 33 years of being a Christian.
Yeah.
In church, Sunday mornings, like that, it never. You get some kind of like some apologetics about why some people maybe aren't followers, and it usually had to, revolved kind of around the idea that they're living in sin, and like those are kind of like, they're not even well thought out kind of apologetics. That was about as far as apologetics went on a Sunday morning for me.
Hey, thank you, Tacit Reticence, for the donation. Oh, $2.79 Canadian. Well, I'm rich.
That's a A&W Buddy Burger.
Tim Hortons. I think Joe likes being a Christian. Thus he remains one. Yeah, I agree, Tacit Residence, and I think Joe said he agrees as well. Okay, my second piece of advice when talking to apologists or Christians, one of the biggest problems is they like to bloviate and just talk and talk and talk. And so my advice is just to be as open and honest with that you don't like that. So you just tell the apologist, look, I really don't want to hear you talk. If I ask a question, please don't talk for 5 minutes and get preachy. And I think most Christians, apologists, pastors, preachers, they understand that and appreciate that. So you just ask nicely, can you keep like a running clock in your head? And when you feel like you've gone like 30 to 60 seconds, it's time to wrap it up. And please, don't assume that I care about anything else other than the answer to my question. And
Yeah.
and
I
you're breaking up a little bit on us. Try again.
oh
Actually,
no, I was just gonna say, like, I see that I
was going to
Go
say
ahead.
you can refresh, and that sometimes helps.
Okay.
But yeah, while you're refreshing, I'm trying to think of. Do you know how to refresh?
I do. My laptop, it has a slight it's kind of broken on the one side. I need to get it
Actually, you're
replaced.
fine now. Don't refresh yet.
Okay.
So do you remember what you were going to say?
Oh, yeah, like I totally agree with that, because like mentally I start to my mind starts to wander to other things when I hear these really long answers to things, and I see a little bit of pushback for that with people saying, like, well, if you can't accept my 5-minute long answer, then you're not really interested in the question. I think it's good to remind them that, like, I'm not asking you to relay your entire theology about this. I actually, if you look back at the question, I asked you a very quite a direct question.
Yeah, a lot of apologists and pastors, they get upset with me because I ask for lean yes, lean no. I ask for answers to multiple choice questions. But I would just say to them, look, if you're going to talk at length, it's either speed round or nothing at all. Like, it's the height of arrogance to think that people actually care about everything you have to say. Like right now, if someone doesn't care what I have to say, they can click off and they're gone. But when you're in a conversation with someone, most people don't want to be impolite and don't want to just turn around and walk away. Like, sometimes it's just really hard to end a conversation. And because Digital Gnosis, Nathan, I don't know if you know him. He had
yeah, I do. I mean, I don't know. We've never talked, but I've watched his channel. I think he's awesome.
He had Ask Cliff on the other day, and
I watched it.
Yeah,
it was brutal.
I put in the live stream chat that it is okay to interrupt people. You can do it in a way that they're not going to be offended and it's not too rude. Like, if you ask a question and someone's gone 30 to 60 seconds, most people are okay with, they actually want the host. They want the person to come in and interrupt them. And I'm sometimes too nice and I let people go too long. But I think if you can get the Christian to stay focused on the question just to answer it, and if they can do it in one word, do it in one word.
I can't remember which apologist has a slogan. It was like, if we can't answer in 2 minutes, then it's not worth answering. But then the same person ends up going on quite long rants as well. I had initially, I found that idea really interesting about, like, just quick, succinct answers, but they're not really. They're like cliffhangers to more and more and more and more and more, always.
Yeah. But I understand it frustrates apologists because that's their repertoire. That's their ammunition, is their words. And if you limit their words, you limit their defense. And
I think there's a term for that. Gish galloping, I think.
Oh, yeah.
I think it's an actual...
See, and part of it is psychological, because if a Christian, I don't know if you saw the one where Randall Rouser was just asking me questions, but I was purposely terse with him and abrupt and gave very short answers to his really deep questions. But I'm okay with being misunderstood. I'm okay with giving incomplete answers because I'm not going to assume that someone wants a long answer. And part of me wants to force the questioner to do a good job at asking good follow-up questions. And it's really tough. It's really tough to stay focused, listen to what the person's saying, and then ask a question based on what they said, instead of just assuming stuff afterwards. And so it doesn't bother me if Christians misunderstand me or think the worst of me. But I think for a lot of apologists, it does bother them. It's like, I got Christian viewers listening. I got to make sure I'm clear and concise. Well, concise is good, but I got to be verbose and expansive because there's so many ways this can be interpreted. So I got to make sure I cover all the bases because I don't want any child to lose confidence in Jesus Christ.
Mm-hmm.
1, 2,
I think
3.
it's a good.
We're getting a little bit of delay. Once you try refreshing, I'm going to read a comment here.
Okay.
There should be some more infighting on this channel so we can find the true way to be an atheist. They are like a herd of cats. I actually have caused some infighting amongst atheists, I think. Because actually, this is what I want to ask Erin about if her politics has shifted at all. Maybe she won't come back now. But because I lean right, I lean conservative. And in the United States, I think it's close to 70% of atheists lean left. And yeah, so that I think has caused some infighting. I dislike political correctness. I dislike it's sort of the attitude of feel sorry forness. Let's see if that's any better.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, I can hear you, but your internet is a little cloudy. But yeah, did your politics shift at all after you left Christianity?
It's kind of, I think my politics had shifted beforehand. I think it was a part of my process too. It was just like we had the election a few years ago in Canada and realizing that I didn't agree with my parents. And I remember actually Googling, like, can I be, more liberal and still be Christian?
Yeah.
So as a couple of things I've always, am I still glitching?
A little bit, but there's a question.
Couple of things
Go ahead, finish your thought, and then there's a question from Matthew.
Oh no, I was just going to say that like some of the things I'd already disagreed with my parents and others about politically, and that didn't really shift after I deconverted because I was already kind of there. I kind of got there already beforehand.
Okay, so you don't have any of the prairie girl left in you?
I think there's still some things that I'm working on because I think the conditioning to biblical womanhood is still a tough one for me. And like I'm a wife and I'm a mom, and having to kind of still actively process whether I believe certain things about what I should be doing they still come up for me a little bit.
Yeah, can you? I want to empathize with the Christian men listening. It's like the pressure of being like Christ, the head of the church. You're supposed to be head of the family. Like, I feel sorry for you guys. It's a huge burden.
Yeah, actually, one of the conversations that I had with my husband when I was kind of coming out of the faith was there was a part that was a little bit of a sigh of relief for him because the expectation that I had on him had shifted. Yeah. He's a human now, and I stopped expecting him to be Christ-like. I'm like, and so even though he didn't deconvert with me, he did express to me the sense of relief that he had.
Yeah. And so it really bothered you that Paul said that you should be quiet in the church?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. I went through quite a period where I was really disliked the Apostle Paul. And I mean, like there were ways around it at the church, but some things, yeah, it bothered me that women weren't allowed to do certain things. They weren't allowed to be in my denomination, even in the more the denomination I was in last. Like they at most the females in the church could be children's pastors, maybe on the worship, maybe worship pastors, but never like a lead pastor, and that always kind of bothered me.
Hey, we can hear you. The mind says.
Hello.
You want to stay hidden?
Yeah, I'm not dressed. I'm not dressed for the occasion.
Okay. You're not wearing your best suit?
Yeah, my hair's all everywhere.
Okay. Well,
Uh,
at least you have hair.
yeah. So let me see. I don't know. What do you want to talk about here? You asked why is it good to believe in God, in Jesus?
Well, the title of this live stream is "What's the point of following Christ?" Are you a Christian?
I believe, that I definitely believe it's possible to. I believe that Jesus rose from the dead. So I guess by your definition, yeah, I'm a I'm a believer in Christ. I'm a Christian.
I don't. You know what the mind says?
Yeah.
I have my doubts that you're a Christian.
Oh, why? Because I sound so intellectual or something?
No, just the opposite.
What?
Are
Yeah, I
you?
don't know what that means. Yes, I believe in, obviously that this world was intelligently designed, and I said it earlier by Occam's razor. Following the logic of Occam's razor, if there is a creation, there must be a creator.
Okay, but I'm asking about Christianity.
Christianity, yeah, I believe in Jesus. I believe in that it's possible for a female to
I didn't ask.
asexually reproduce and have a kid, and then that kid performs some kind of miracles that we can't
I don't care
comprehend.
what's possible. I care what's
I
plausible.
said yes.
Do you believe it's
Yes, I
plausible
believe.
that you believe Jesus Christ rose from the dead?
Yeah, I believe that the laws of physics weren't always what we know them to be. But just because you know them to be how they are now, things aren't always just because you haven't experienced or done an observable test doesn't mean it's not true.
Why do you believe that Jesus Christ rose from the dead?
It is said, hear the truth, and the truth will set you free. Because I heard it and I believe it. I didn't say I know, I say I believe. Knowing and believing are two different things. Do you agree, or I don't know what you're smiling at?
I agree that knowing and believing are two separate things. But why your answer to why you believe Jesus Christ rose from the dead is because you heard it and you believe it? Is that what you said?
Yeah, I heard it, I believe it, and based off of everything else, all the lies that I've been told by pseudoscience, and like colonialism, I was like, yeah, obviously there's some truth here.
Listen to me. Jesus Christ did not rise from the dead. You heard it. Now, do you believe it? That Jesus Christ didn't rise from the dead?
No, because
why don't you believe me? You heard it.
Yeah. The conviction's not there.
Oh. Jesus Christ did not rise from the dead. I'm convicted of that. Do you believe it now? That Jesus Christ didn't rise from the dead?
I would like to know, what is your creation story? Because you like to deconstruct everybody else's belief system. I would like to know your belief system and creation story. How do you think all this reality came into being? Because I could definitely deconstruct your belief system as well. So tell me, please, how do you think this reality came into existence? What's your belief system?
I basically start with that the universe exists. Why is there something rather than nothing? I don't know. I think if I were to believe in any miracles, maybe that would be it, and the one and only, that existence is there. I probably lean towards that some type of material has always existed in the infinite past, but time is like time before the singularity, if there was such a thing. Time using quantum is like asking a squirrel to do calculus. It's like beyond our ken. So I don't know if that answers you that part of the question.
Yeah. Well, I think in a short, to summarize, you believe in the singularity, right? To put it in a nutshell, I heard you say the singularity.
Yeah.
You believe in a Big Bang and that everything. So you agree that the laws of physics weren't always what we know them to be, right?
Correct. Yeah.
And why did that change? Why did the laws of physics change?
Well, some say we don't know,
right? Yeah. Basically, when it comes down to it, we don't know. And is it possible for them to change again?
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe, exactly. We don't know. And if the laws of physics did change, who would be the ones to notice it?
Us.
Those that observe reality.
Yeah.
Yeah, but everybody else are just going to do what they're told.
What year are you taking philosophy right now in university?
No.
No?
No, I'm not.
Okay. What do you do, may I ask?
What I do?
Are you a student?
I do labor work. I'm a laborer.
Oh, I appreciate that. What do you labor in?
Just mainly like what is not fast food? What is that called? When you're in like a freezer packing food?
A butcher?
No, it's just like a line, just a line of
Like
vegetable
food services.
production. It's in a cold freezer. He's like there for like 12 hours cutting carrots, like
Okay.
potatoes and stuff.
Okay.
So I don't see what's the point in asking that question. What do you do for a living?
I'm a financial analyst.
Okay, so
I'm trying to build
Did you-
rapport here.
okay, I'm trying to see how that relates to anything.
Well, I'm trying to build rapport. I'm trying to get where you're coming from. Like why it's obvious why I'm interested in this, because I came from a Christian background, so did Erin, and so we're interested in these topics, even though we're not Christians anymore. But why are you interested in these topics?
I like hearing people. I don't like being in an echo chamber, so I like to hear people who either choose to, what is that called? Hold on, what is that word called? Blind ignorance, who choose to, be ignorant.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
I forgot what that word's called. I like to talk to people like that.
Confirmation bias, maybe.
No, I don't. That's what I'm saying. I don't like to be in circles where everybody's just saying the same thing. I like to hear other people's opinions, and I also like to, I know that y'all are deliberately denying facts, and I just like to.
Well, now that we built
call
some
them out on their BS.
Now that we built some rapport here, I'll finish. So basically, I do not say that there can't be any God of any sort. There might be. To me,
but Jesus just isn't the one.
Yeah, I would say I'm a hard atheist against Christianity. So
what does it even mean to believe in Jesus? I think you don't even. That's just like real broad statement. Like, what does that even mean? You could get real philosophical about it, but it needs to be like a yes or no kind of questions, right?
Well, for most Christians, I would say, and Joe, who was just here previously, is not one of them. Well, most Christians would say that Christianity, to believe in Jesus, means that you believe what he did and what he said is true, and you follow him. So do you believe that what Jesus said and did, as outlined in the Gospels, do you believe that's true? I don't.
I mean, I know that everything in this reality, has been subject to corruption, and that has to do with information, not just with their own bodies. So I'm saying I'm not going to be like, oh, I 100% believe in what the Bible says. I believe every word, and I believe it's infallible, or however you say it. It's not subject to corruption. I'm not going to say that. I believe that there are deep truths in the Bible, and I don't think you need the Bible to discover them, but I think they have been preserved throughout time in them, and
I can agree with some of that.
People try to use the truth to manipulate the masses, because that's the way you get a good lie. You get a good truth that people like, and then you twist it up. You get them to follow you, make a cult. By the time they know it, they're like, "Holy shit! Okay, we weren't where we thought we were."
Hey, I think we're on the same page.
A lot of things I can agree with there.
But I still believe in Christ. That's a difference. He said a lot of good things, and I do believe.
But the reason you gave, though, is, to me, sounds a little weak.
Sounds what?
Weak.
It sounds weak?
Yeah. Because you said.
Because I feel it, and I can just determine from my own understanding that it's true.
Yeah, that's a bad reason, in my opinion. You want to know why?
Go ahead, tell me.
Well, okay, let me make sure I understood you correctly. You believe that Jesus Christ rose from the dead because you heard it, and then I think you just said because you feel it. Am I wrong?
I think I might take too long.
Yeah, you're right.
I'm right. Okay. If someone believes something because they feel it or because they heard it, and it happens to contradict Christianity, how in the heck would I figure out who's right?
Wait, how am I contradicting
I'm not
Christianity?
I didn't say you're contradicting Christianity. I'm saying if I have another person in this room here who believes in a religion that contradicts Christianity, and I ask them, well, why do you believe this religion is true? And they said, because I heard it. and because I feel
Yeah.
it is true, and you say you heard Christianity and you feel it's true, how would an outsider like me or Erin figure out which one of you is actually telling the truth, or if you're both wrong?
The same way you do, your scientific studies, and you determine on which scientists are actually doing real science and not doing pseudoscience, because that happens, right? Can you agree with me that pseudoscience happens within the scientific community?
Yeah, I do. I believe that there's problems,
So
but what you just said.
how do y'all determine the difference from a lie when they're trying to feed you the truth disguised as a lie? How do you make the determination?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think the scientific method, with all its flaws,
It comes down to an individual choice. We choose to believe what happens, and that's why we're in the situation we're in, because it's a number game. People believe that vaccinations are. Go ahead. What? Sorry.
I do feel like you are asking a lot of like good questions. But are you sure that you are listening to our answers? Because it does feel like you're running a little bit of a script here. But I think we are willing to have a conversation here and talk about it.
Nope. No script, but I am definitely listening.
Okay.
If you want me to slow down or specifically talk about one of your responses, I could go into more detail.
I think maybe
or like elaborate.
Take some time to ask a question, hear what we have to say, and then ask another question. Kind of.
Actually, you know what? Trevor from Texas is waiting. So why don't we wrap up here, T? So we'll give you the last word.
Most of those. Okay, I was going to say most of those questions are questions that science can't explain themselves. So I don't know how y'all would explain them other than just telling me what you believe. But it was nice talking to you and hearing, your mindset and how y'all think about.
I don't think
and react to the truth.
Okay. Well, thanks for coming on.
Bye. Okay. Bye.
Bye. I don't think I shared anything.
Oh, you did. Hey, Trevor from Texas.
Hey, how's it going, man?
It's going well. So are you a Christian?
I used to be, but right now I feel like my faith is a bit faltering.
Oh, that's too bad.
How are you doing with that?
Not great. I'm going through a messy divorce, if I'm being honest.
Are you really?
Yeah.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Well, why did you call in then?
Well, I called in to basically ask you some questions. Maybe you guys can change my mind or whatever it is. Is that basically, I think if a black man comes into a marriage and bangs the other guy's wife.
I don't. Hey, Trevor, you can't hear him, right? Erin, can you hear him?
Yeah, I can hear. I can hear. I'm just.
I've muted him.
I can still hear him. Yeah.
Is it safe to unmute him?
I think. No, to me it sounds like there's obviously some context going on here for your question. So I think it's more of a rhetorical question, but I can totally empathize with the fact that whatever's going on is probably really extremely frustrating, and that there's probably a level of hypocrisy that you're seeing right now, which is causing some stress. Is that right?
Yeah, I do feel like my wife is a hypocrite.
Yeah, I think. I don't know. Are we still muted, Doug?
No, he's back.
I think that it's fair to have these questions about maybe the actions of certain people and whether, Christ has actually ever changed anybody. And those are all valid questions to go down. And I think that crappy things that happen are valid, and you need to, give yourself some time to work on.
Did you say my wife getting banged by a black guy is valid?
No, I meant that whatever distress that you're going through over this is valid, and that you got to deal with whatever you're going through, and maybe don't worry about the faith questions as much right now.
Right.
That's what I meant.
Wait, is your wife a Christian?
She said she was.
You're a Christian?
I used to be.
Okay.
So something really awful has happened, and it's caused you to
Yeah,
have some questions. Yeah.
pretty awful.
I'm still a little, I'm not trying to be rude here, but I'm trying to figure out, why are you telling us this stuff?
I just want to get an answer. I feel like I have no answers in God right now. And maybe you guys could help me out. But she just said the guy doing that was valid. I mean,
No, I didn't say that was. I meant that whatever you're going through right now, your emotions around it are valid.
Can I ask
So
you a
whether it's
question?
anger or
Can I
that
ask
sort
the
of thing,
handsome guy a question, please?
Go ahead.
So, do you have a wife?
Yes.
How would you feel if a black guy came in, just started banging her?
My wife's black.
Yeah,
May I ask
even worse.
May I ask what color has anything to do with it?
What do you mean?
Why do you keep saying the word black like it's important?
I'm just being descriptive, man.
How tall is he?
I don't know. I think he's 6'5".
And what's his weight?
A lot more than me.
Does he have any scars?
Do you, I ask you if I could beat him up? Because I think I might be able to beat him up, but
Yeah.
I don't know. If he could bang my wife,
You're
he
not
might be able to
married.
beat me up.
You're not married.
You don't think I'm married? Yeah, I'm
No.
not anymore because I'm fucking divorced.
No, you never were married.
Why? I have the papers, bro.
I don't believe you. I don't believe you. I think he's just.
Yeah.
Why do you mention he's black? I'm just being descriptive.
Oh dear. I think maybe trying to draw a point that like people leave Christianity because they're angry. Maybe that was part of the troll.
Yeah,
or not, or he was just messing with us.
if someone, in fact, I said this just earlier. If you're leaving Christianity because your wife's a Christian and cheated on you, again, that's a bad reason to leave Christianity.
Mm-hmm.
So if Trevor from Texas, if you're still listening, and if you're not being a goofball, and you were actually being sincere, and you're just, I don't know, that's a bad reason to leave Christianity, just because your wife cheated on you. You should leave Christianity because you don't believe it's true. But I'm pretty much 90% confident he was just trolling us.
Yeah, I wasn't sure at first, but yeah, it's pretty.
My guess is he's, if I were to guess, he's probably 16, 17, 18 years old, lives in his mother's basement.
I bet he watches a lot of Frank Turek. That's my guess.
No, my guess is he watches a lot of what's PUBG and plays games like that.
Oh yeah.
Hey, Pastor Joe, you can come on in. Maybe we'll take one more. Are you a real pastor, Pastor Joe? Are you a pretend pastor? It's kind of fun to have a troll on, though. I don't mind trolls. I don't mind trolls as long as they're they make me laugh.
Mm. I've had plenty of trolls on my Twitter. I've had people try to take me down on there.
What do you mean, like Christians trying to take you down?
Yeah, a couple. I've had people campaign to take me down. A couple of people have created accounts just to try to call me a fraud or whatever. It's and honestly, the more ridiculous it is, the I get a little bit of a laugh out of it too.
So it doesn't bother you at all?
No, it doesn't. I find it fascinating what happens in the human mind when people like what makes them come after one person or another. I think it's really interesting. But no, I don't get offended the same way I used to.
Well, that's good because if you're going to get into YouTubing and all that sort of thing, you have to have a pretty thick skin. Why is someone who is not an atheist considered a troll? Asked Pastor Joe. I could be wrong, but I'm quite sure the guy who just called in was not who he said he was. But who knows?
I wonder, yeah, no, maybe I won't bring that up. He's kind of reminding me, in particular, of a particular person who likes to troll me on Twitter. I'm thinking that it may have been directed.
John Rivers, can you hear me? We can't hear you.
Hello?
Yes, now we can.
Yeah.
Hey,
Go
man,
ahead.
how's it going?
It's going well. Are you Christian, Muslim, Scientologist?
I am Christian, although I didn't grow up that way.
Okay. How old were you when you became a Christian?
I found it pretty early in life. I had an uncle who was, I'm actually not sure how he got into it, but I had an uncle who sort of introduced me to it around, I think, oh shit, sorry. Fuck. Can you guys hear me properly?
Yeah,
Yeah.
you were breaking up a bit, but how old were you?
I think 8 or 9.
Okay. And what was the main reason you became a Christian?
Well, I don't know. That's hard. I had a lot of problems with the idea of death when I was younger, and I think that what I had been raised around in the belief climate kind of made me uncomfortable, and I needed solace.
And how old are you now, may I ask?
Now I am 26.
Okay. So you were 9 when you became a Christian, 26 now.
Mhm.
And you believe Christianity is true, that a man 2,000 years ago rose from the dead in bodily form?
I do. I mean, I don't really know what else that I would believe. The Quran seems like a bunch of, horse droppings to me, and I can't speak too highly of Judaism either. In fact, I have a friend.
Do you need to have one religion true?
That's a good question, isn't it? I'm not really sure, but I can't help but feeling like my religion is a lot more valid than the other religions that I hear about.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm not quite sure where that comes from. It's weird because the uncle, his name is Jamie. The uncle I had who taught it to me was actually kind of a creep, but the messaging that he was saying to me was really ringing true to me. And there's sort of just beliefs and ideals that I've held close to me my entire life. And when I hear, this is kind of the part that's hard to talk about, because I have quite a few friends. This has happened a few times, but recently I have a friend who has gotten really involved with someone romantically, and the person he's been involved with is Jewish, and I've tried to tell him like, this is not a path you want to go down. That's a whole can of worms, and it does not taste good.
Can we talk about why you believe Christianity is true?
Well, in some ways I think Christianity is true because it's not Judaism, which is obviously, I think if I were to rank them, that would be by far the least true and the least valid.
Which one? Judaism?
Yes, absolutely. Without a doubt.
How can you have Christianity without Judaism being true?
Yeah, that's what I was wondering.
There are certain behavioral ideals that those people hold dear to them that I would not.
Those people?
Oh, yeah.
Are you another troll? Are we 2 for 2 here?
What?
Are you trolling us?
I hope not. I'm not trying to. This is honestly what I was told about these people. I've only met a few.
You knew Jesus was a Jew, right?
No. That is not true.
Okay, we got another
Yeah.
troll. 2 for 2 for trolls. Okay,
We're doing good.
An announcement here: if you're going to troll, you got to be more funny. Then I'll probably keep you on if you can make me laugh. But you can't come on here and say Jesus wasn't a Jew. Okay. Oh, wait, Roberto, can you hear us? Roberto.
Oh, hey. Oh,
Hi.
snap.
Hey, can you say something again? I just want to make sure your audio is fine.
Hold up. Give me a sec.
You're very fuzzy.
Hello?
Thick. Yeah, you're there, but you're fine. Are you
Yeah, I'm
Christian?
using my phone.
Okay.
Maybe I should put my headphones on.
Maybe.
Let me try that real quick.
Can you put your right hand on a Bible? No. Can you put your left hand on a Bible and your right hand up in the air and swear that you're not a troll?
No, I'm not a troll. I really like your stuff. I've been watching it for a very long time. I'm not an atheist, but I don't know what I am, honestly.
You're a human.
Recently left Christianity. I'm a human being, yes, I know that. And kind of floating around, not knowing what to actually believe in right now. It's kind of weird because this my whole life I've been a Christian, and I've had my parents, validate me for being a good Christian boy going to church, and had friends and family. Just it all seemed really right, but then YouTube, internet just tell me that Christianity is probably bogus, and it kind of convinced me that it was. Where do I go from here?
How old are you?
I'm 22.
Well, where you go from here is you got your whole life in front of you. Not like me, I'm an old fart. You probably, like most people, when you ask that question, I go from here, you're asking about hope, meaning, and purpose, that sort of thing.
Yeah, because Christianity gave me all that. I wanted to be a missionary or some type of minister, and people really saw that in me.
You know that feeling? You know that feeling when you help someone?
Yeah.
Do more of that.
Okay.
That's all.
I got you.
Treat people with kindness. Okay. Be as fair as you can. If trolls come on your YouTube channel, just get rid of them right away, and you'll live a great life. That's all.
Gotcha. How do I know what's true and what's not?
Reliable testing.
Okay.
And then you appropriate your confidence based on that. So, for example, if I always use the pen falling, if I ask you, do you think it's going to fall if I let go, and repeatable, you raise your confidence and stuff like that. On other stuff, which is not so repeatable, you can lower your confidence and say, I don't know, and that's fine.
Do you have any books you can recommend, or are you allowed to do that?
Oh, Erin probably does.
Oh, okay.
Are you allowed to do shout outs?
Probably. I mean, Doug, what kind of books to move forward? So you're kind of.
We'll watch the Pinecreek videos, but
I
want books too.
Or watch Saturday Night Live, the scene of Chris Farley down by the river. He's a he's a motivational speaker. You'll love him.
My recommendation for a book, I think, is one of the most helpful books that I've read since I deconverted, is the book Happy by Darren Brown. It was
Happy by Darren Brown.
Happy by Darren Brown, and it's called Happy. I think the tag is Why More or Less Everything's Fine. And that book, I think, changed the way I lived in a lot of ways, because it, especially coming from Christianity, where it's like I've talked a lot about this, like this sense of urgency and this kind of anxiety that's built around it. And I definitely experienced some of that feeling that you are describing now about, like, what do I do now? That was a great book. I loved it. I listened to it twice.
Okay.
What's your passion in life right now,
Roberto? I like music. I've been really getting into music. It's fun. I wouldn't say it's like my calling in life, but I do enjoy doing that.
Like, you're a musician? You perform?
Oh, I just play for myself.
Okay. Well, try to get
a little bit shy.
Try to get a little bit better every day. And 10 years from now, when you look back, You say, oh man, I used to be a horrible at playing this, but now I'm great. And just, I think one of the ways to find meaning in life is to keep progressing, to try to get a little bit better. And even sometimes the most trivial things can give you the most meaning. Does that make sense?
Okay, cool.
But we got
Yeah.
we got
Happy and
yep. It's
oh, you got another one? Yeah, I'll hang up. It's cool.
yeah, and
Thank you so much.
and go for walks and exercise and try to lift your body weight on the bench press.
All right, cool. Sounds
Great advice. Great advice.
Okay, I gotta read. Hi, how do you pronounce your name?
Hey,
Hey, we can hear you.
UT, like the letters U and T.
Ah, UT. Okay. Are you a Christian, Muslim, Scientologist, Mormon, atheist?
I used to be a Christian, but I'm pretty sure I'm an atheist now.
Okay. And why did you call in?
Pretty big fan. I watch like ever since I discovered the channel, I've just been watching all your videos, and it's really interesting.
Is your screen name, YouTube screen name, UT?
Yeah,
I'm trying to remember. Have you commented on my videos?
yeah, quite a few times.
Trying to remember you.
What kind of background, what kind of Christianity did you come from? Which denomination?
Presbyterian,
Oh,
very conservative.
Yeah.
oh,
I-
Calvinist.
I part-time went to a Presbyterian church growing up too. Some of my extended family.
You
yeah,
did?
definitely more conservative. Yeah. Oh yeah. I went to 3 different churches, but mostly Pentecostal.
So what advice, UT, do you have for your Calvinist brothers and sisters of humanity? What advice do you have for them?
Funny enough, I never quite heard any of the Calvinist teachings being preached in my church. I mean, maybe I just wasn't paying attention, but I was actually surprised because I always knew that my church was founded by John Calvin, but the whole limited atonement and total depravity stuff, I never actually heard that.
Oh, really?
So okay, yeah.
And what advice would you have given the guy, previous caller? He was asking about hope, meaning, and purpose after leaving Christianity. What have you found a replacement for that for yourself?
Now that's a very funny question because I didn't have that even when I was a Christian, so I'm still trying to figure it out.
Ooh, that's an interesting answer. I thought as a Christian, your hope, meaning, and purpose is salvation, going to heaven, and spending eternity with your Savior. You didn't feel that when you were a Christian, or know that, or believe that?
I mean, I did struggle towards it, but well, I'm being honest with myself, I mean, the skeptic in me didn't really buy it.
I can relate to that a lot, actually. Kind of not feeling like I grasped the meaning and purpose that I was told I was supposed to feel as a Christian. I kind of relate to that. I actually feel like I have more meaning and purpose now.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
All right.
What are you passionate about right now, UT?
Learning science. One of my favorite YouTube channels right now where I learn a lot of science is Vice Rhino. Right? Like after you, I think it's probably my favorite YouTube atheist. Vice Rhino.
Are you a student right now?
Yeah, about entering my final year, engineering, civil engineering.
Good.
Yeah.
You'll get a good job sometime.
If I was still a Christian, I'd say amen. Yeah.
We just had another person try to come on, but they left. But if you want to come back, well, I'm glad you love the channel, UT, but I want to try to have Theist come on as much as possible.
Oh, well, I totally get, but it's a pleasure anyway.
Okay. May I ask,
Thanks for having me.
may I ask before you go, what part of the world are you in the US?
No, Nigeria.
Nigeria.
Yeah.
I think I've talked to you before, right? Via text or via comment section on YouTube, or no?
Perhaps Twitter, though I don't remember. Maybe perhaps Twitter.
Okay. Okay, but anyhow, thanks for hopping on.
All right. Thanks.
Take care. I gotta change platforms if I'm going to be doing this regularly. Can you see when people go on, or is it just me?
No, I can't tell until they're in the shared screen.
Looked like someone was in their car. But yeah, meaning, purpose, that's a big thing for a lot of people leaving. Maybe I'm too harsh, but part of me thinks that it's not really my job to come up with a replacement for people because I don't know them.
Well, I agree with, yeah, I think it's really hard to come from a place where you're used to other people telling you how to live and how to, direct your life. It's a really hard transition when you kind of realize that you're kind of in the pilot seat of your own life and you have to go about it. So no, I don't think anybody can really tell someone else. So I think you ask great questions like, well, what do you like doing? And I mean, there's a couple things that we know as humans make us feel better. Do those.
Yeah.
But it's hard to get out of that mindset that someone else needs to tell me what to do now.
That's part of the beauty of religion, especially religion like Christianity it's a rule book basically. Now, yeah, sure, it's a personal relationship with a deity. I get that, but basically, you get the creator of the universe telling you what's moral, what's not, what's going to happen in the future, so you don't have to be worried about it. And in fact, he tells you not to worry about what's going to happen, and that he knows every count of every thread of hair on your head, and so for a lot of people, that's very comforting. I still want Pastor Joe to come in because I love pastors. So yeah, there's a Pastor Joe who's been here in the live stream chat. I prefer to talk to apologists. In fact, here's a dare. Anybody who has the ear of an apologist, like ones I sometimes critique, have them come on.
I put it out there on my Twitter account that we're live right now. See if anybody bites.
Like Sean McDowell, get on here. Frank Turek, get on here.
Yeah, I'd love to talk to Frank.
More so than Sean McDowell?
Yep, probably. But no, I think Sean McDowell would probably be easier to talk to, but I feel like I've got a little bit of a vendetta against Frank because I sort of feel like he's one of the ones that turned me into an atheist in some ways.
How so?
Not really, but like I am.
Just because he's so brash? He's
such a jerk. And I think, I don't know. I watched a lot of his videos and I was trying to see what he was. It's hard to even get past his tone and the way he.
He's from New York. I think he's like Donald Trump. He's from New York. You gotta kind of.
Yeah, but he really rubbed me the wrong way. So I had to switch to different apologists. But he's the one I most probably frequently comment on his Twitter because I'm just like, you are not human the way that you talk about people. I don't know, maybe I'm being too harsh, but
No, you're not.
I don't think he's realizing how much he's pushing people out. I think he should, like you say, I think he should continue doing what he does, because I think he is doing a lot of work to turn people off.
Yeah. The thing is, for me, it would be just so much fun because I know what these guys are going to say before they even think it.
Yeah. Yeah, I know you do.
And let's see, Frank, Sean, guys like Capturing Christianity, I just almost feel sorry for them at this point. Same with like Trinity Radio.
Yeah.
Like it's, and this gets back to my advice on how to talk to apologists, because if Frank Turk was to come in right now, he's not going to talk about the evidence for the resurrection. I guarantee you he won't. With an atheist like myself, he would talk about, he'll go to his moist robot type thing, like how can you have free will? How he'll talk about determinism and reasoning and logic. He basically becomes a precept when he's talking to atheists. When he's talking to Christians, then he'll talk about the evidence.
Yeah, I definitely see that pattern as well.
And
I think one of the things that I've been wondering about the most recently is just like where are the arguments for the atheists? Like they target a lot of the atheists because I think we are threatening in a lot of ways, but like how do these apologists get people who don't care? You don't hear from atheists very often.
Right, because they don't care.
by the very nature of their stance. But I think that I feel like I often find another way to talk to apologists is to take on the atheists' position.
Well, that's
when they're talking about, I think someone like Braxton. I think someone who has an apathetic kind of look to the stuff he's saying. I think that's going to rub him, or like be hard for him to deal with, because I think he has a sense of urgency, and it's very, I think it's kind of emotional for him, right?
Yeah, it's very emotional for him.
Yeah.
The Mind Says, are you back?
Hello. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi.
Yeah, I came back because you just had a whole bunch of trolls, interrupt the conversation. If you wanted to say something, I don't know what your name is, you could say something. I'm sorry for not letting you speak the whole time. ExXTI.
Oh, it's just ExXtian Erin.
Okay. Did you want to speak or say something to me? Share something?
Don't do it. It's a trap.
No, I don't. I don't particularly have anything that I would like to open with, but if you have a question, I'm happy to answer it. And if you're willing
evidence,
to listen.
okay. Well, I could open.
I didn't say anything about evidence.
No, but I right before I came on, what's the name was saying that Christians or apologetics turn into robots and they start going off into their specific narrative. Isn't that the same thing when people who are atheists? Wait, okay, what did you say specifically? I'm sorry, I'm not trying to be hostile or like put words in your mouth.
You got to first convince me you're not a troll. I mean, that's idling.
What do you want me to do? I don't understand how I can convince you. I know the word
Show
of
your
God
face.
pretty good.
Show your face.
Okay, let me see. I'm just like an Indian looking person, like a Mexican Indian guy. Can you see me?
No, I can't see you. If you show your face, I'll have a little bit of.
All right.
There we go.
Hey, can you see me? Hello.
There we go.
Let me turn on this light a little bit.
Now we're talking.
Wait, it's too damn dark. Hold on.
Now we're talking. I got to see into your eyes to see your soul.
Yeah, I don't think this computer. The native said it a long time ago. It's sucking your soul out of your bodies. There. Does that make you believe me more now that I'm not a troll
it
for
does.
some reason?
It does. Wow. You've totally changed my mind.
A troll could look. Okay, a troll could look just like me.
Well, but the fact that you're willing to, I still can't. I saw your eyes previously, but let me see into your soul, please.
Yeah, I don't trust.
Let me see your eyes. Let me see your eyes.
Can't see. I can't see anything again.
I've been on YouTube for 5 years, and
You have your own channel?
And every year I get hacked. Yeah, and every year I get hacked, so I rather not draw attention to myself
Okay, then now I'm losing
too
respect for you
much.
again. You had you
What?
had what's the you have a YouTube
Yeah, I
channel?
get hacked. People hack you.
Do you have a YouTube
Yeah,
channel?
the internet's not a nice place. Yes, I do.
What's the name of your YouTube channel?
It's a sacred thing. You know what sacred is? Like secret, sacred. It's for special, chosen, elect people.
What's the
I don't know if you
name of your
understand.
YouTube channel?
When God is ready to show you the truth and understand, my YouTube channel name is Don't You Forget About Me, with 3 exclamation marks.
Don't
Like the
you
song? Like the
forget.
Yeah, it's all
Yeah.
put together in one. It's in one. There's no spaces.
We're just quickly checking your credibility here. Just hang on.
No spaces in the name. Don't you forget about me?
Yeah, and then 3 exclamation marks. You probably need to put the filter, the channel, because I'm blacklisted. Like you can't find me unless you try really hard. They blacklisted me.
Why'd they
too special
blacklist
for
you?
the internet. I don't know. You know, mainstream media. They want, if you're not saying everything they're saying, then they don't want you to be saying it.
Yeah.
You know how that works. Conspiracy theories.
I
you're like
regularly say
Indians.
things that
You know,
are
like
pretty
natives. They're
offensive.
like a harm. Yeah, like natives. They're harmful to their mindset's harmful to normal.
I know exactly what you're talking about
kids,
because
you know,
I
that's what
feel
they say.
I feel the
My
same
best
way.
friend, my best friend is native. I love her.
Yeah, but if you look at the laws that are set up, if you try to live like an indigenous person, it's like, nope, that's savage. And even though they lived on this land for thousands of years, they don't know how to take care of their kids, and that's not how you do it. It's not legal.
What's
I have a
It's not
question
zoned.
for
Your
you.
land's not zoned.
Hang on, I still got to see if you're
Oh yes,
the
yes.
troll test here.
Mhm.
What's the name of your ancestral tribe?
Oh my God, are you serious?
Yeah, I'm serious.
I don't know if you realize, but a lot of people, in a lot of indigenous people has gotten their, what is it called, culture stripped from
What's
them.
the
So
name of
I'm
your
sorry, I
ancestral
can't tell you
tribe?
Do you know?
specifically.
Like a lot?
How
The
would
largest.
you know that? How would you know I'm telling the truth? I could just say any random Indian name, and then you can be like, oh, okay,
Why
he's
haven't
right.
you at this point?
I could say names, but it doesn't mean
Say
like
some
it's
names.
true. I don't know
Say
I'm
some
saying
names.
I don't know.
Can you
Some
name
names?
one
Oh,
ancestral tribe?
I can.
yes, of course I can.
Do it.
Tapilan, Kautekin.
Okay. And what state are they mostly found?
Like roaming Texas and South. I would say Northeast.
Okay.
South.
Hey, the mind says
America.
we got
In
Devon
America.
coming on now. So it was nice talking to you. Yeah, you can say I'm rude, but that's the way the cookie crumbles. Hi, Devon.
Hi. How are you?
Good. Are you traveling in a car? Because you called earlier, right?
Yeah, I was, and I had pulled over, but I was like a little bit scared to be on the side of the highway, so I like actually pulled off, and I'm in a parking lot now.
Okay. So you're safe to talk.
Okay. So this will probably just be really quick. So the question that you have for tonight is, what is the point of believing in Jesus?
Correct.
And I think the best answers would be community, like to be respected / to fit in, because most people are Christian. This applies to the U.S., I guess. Like a lot of people in the U.S. are Christian or just religious and are kind of afraid of atheists. People tend to think like, oh, that person is a nice Christian person, so you get more respect and you fit in better. You can enjoy the resources of the church. So even if you have like
first of all, you're a Christian, correct?
No.
Oh, you're not. Okay.
But these are the I think pragmatic reasons, like the things that people who belong to churches get that we don't.
Yeah, I
kind of agree.
Yeah, I kind of agree too. Atheist is not the it's not anything. It's not. There's nothing to rally around. There's no holy atheist texts. There's no holy atheist beliefs to solidify a group. But for some people, I don't know, like a lot of people who become atheists, who are convinced all religion's false, I don't know, a lot of them are kind of okay with that. Or they're okay with not having this this need to rally around. But I agree with you. Community is a huge part of why one should be a Christian. And this is the reason why I don't push back against my wife. Like, she gets a lot of value out of the belief.
Yeah. I think there are other ways to find community outside of church, but I don't think those relationships are nearly as deep.
Yeah.
Ooh.
I actually agree with that.
I kind of disagree with that.
Oh, this is good.
I personally feel that any kind of group that's set around shared interest and like hobbies and that sort of thing, I feel like that gives you a potential to get closer. But regardless of that, I always felt that my friendships that I made through the church were somewhat shallow.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay, but Erin, when you needed a new dishwasher or something, I don't know, didn't you look up, like, or you need a plumber?
It's true.
Didn't you look up Christian plumbers before non-Christian plumbers to help you?
No.
No?
I do get that though. Like, my husband and I are business owners, and there is like kind of this code that, like, you know, if someone's a Christian, that they're a little bit more trustworthy. But we've also been burned by that in the past as well. I don't know, it's tough. Like, I will say that there was certain things that the church had that I have not found any alternatives for outside of the church. And it has to does have something to do with that. Like, the church I went to recently had like a really good care ministry, they called it. So if you know, I was a new mom. The last time I went in there, I was a new mom. I was struggling, and I went in, and they just sat with me and talked to me. Those kind of things, I think, are hard to find outside of the church. I don't think that's impossible to find them. I just think that that's some work that needs to be done in the humanist community, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. One thing that I had put on my list was, like, you can enjoy their resources, and that goes for a lot of things. Like, churches have a lot of money, and that goes a long way. Like, whether you want to help others, they have, like, there's a lot more people, and they have a lot more money to do good in communities. And I don't know, at least a lot of the churches around where I live also just have a lot of resources, I guess, for recreation. Like, I'm sure you're familiar with churches going on, like, weekend retreats and stuff like that, where they own land or campgrounds and stuff like that. Like, not a lot of other groups or communities have those kind of resources, I guess.
Stop it, Devon. You're going to make me cry.
I agree. I get what you're saying. I spent a lot of time in my youth going to youth camps and going to retreats and that sort of thing. And I would personally, as an atheist, I would say there's certain things I would go to the church to again, and a retreat would certainly not be one of them, because I feel like that's probably like the most intense area where they, you know, have the opportunity to kind of emotionally manipulate somebody. So I think it's like one of those, I don't know, touchy subjects. I do miss Wednesday morning women's Bible study for the homemade baked goods and the free childcare.
When I was a Christian in a Christian church, and when my wife gave birth, or actually it was C-section, I was a little bit against the Christians bringing food. Like, I was very much, the way I was raised was, you take care of yourself. And
really?
Yeah.
It bothered you when people brought food? Why?
Well, number one, most of the food I hated. Yeah. But I've always hated it when my Christian friends would ask me to help them move. Or it's like, so and so has 10 kids and they can't make their payments or whatever. And it's like, pardon me, okay, I'll help, but maybe people should think ahead before having 10 kids so they don't become dependent on people around them. And so I came from that attitude. And so the community part of Christianity didn't impact me as much, because it's like, no, you should try to be self-sufficient. You should try not to have to lean. And I remember a lot of my Christian friends, they hated me for that. It's because, and here's my theory. When Christians want to help other Christians, it's to help them feel good, not necessarily to help you. And I honestly got that sense from a lot of Christians that they just wanted, which is not necessarily bad. It's nice to feel good. But I think that was more of the reason, that it was just to help make them, oh, now I'm a good Christian type thing.
A bit of virtue signaling.
Virtue signaling. I hate virtue signaling.
Yeah. Yeah. I was going to say something. Yeah, it's okay. Yeah, I agree with that.
So, okay, I get that you didn't appreciate the community aspect of it for yourself, but what about for your kids? Because I remember my mom, when I was really young, this has been so long ago that I don't remember the details very much, but she had read some sort of study or article or something that said young kids have better outcomes in some way. I don't remember, they're more successful when they grow up, whatever, had better outcomes in some reason if they could name 5 adults that cared about them outside of their parents. And when she asked my sister and I, can you name adults who care about you or who are invested in you besides your dad and I think every single person that we named as the adults that cared about us were people from the church, except for my elementary school teacher.
Yeah, that wouldn't be the case for me.
Not for your kids?
Oh, my kids don't go to church, but I actually agree with you. The first thing you said, that I suggested to my daughter that she find a non-crazy church to go hang out with the youth group, for bowling and pizza night and stuff like that. I'm not against that. But how many Christian parents would be okay saying that to their kids? Go hang out with the atheist group of kids or secular or whatever. They'd be scared. They'd be terrified, especially the Christians like Braxton Hunter, who said, I wouldn't let my kids near to you.
Yeah, I can I make one comment on that? I know the study you're talking about the naming the adults that care about you. That looking back on because I went to 3 different youth groups growing up, and I will just say that I agree with Doug that there is some opportunity just to get out and have some, do some activities with people. But I think being very, what's the word I'm thinking of, involved with who you're sending your kids to go hang out with, because some of the more harmful things that I was taught as a Christian were taught to me actually by my youth leaders. So I think just as a parent, as with any activity you put your kids into, just know where they're going, know who they're going to be around, how long they're going to be there for, and how to make sure that they're safe in those environments. Because I think right along with that idea that Christians are more trustworthy and that sort of thing, that can also set you up for a lot of pitfalls, and a lot of people trust too much and they get in themselves into situations where they're not actually safe. So it's being wise about where you're sending your kids to as well.
Yeah.
How many, Devon, you used to be a Christian, and how long have you been out of jail?
So I grew up Church of Christ Christian, and my family is all still in that religion except for my younger sister. I'm 23. And I think I was doubting and confused for sure, as soon as I turned 20, but I don't think I would have said I wasn't a Christian until I was 21 or maybe 22. So like only a very short amount of time.
And if you could pinpoint one thing, could you? And what was it?
What pinpoint what?
That caused you to leave Christianity?
Oh, so Church of Christ, at least the ones where I live, are like very fundamentalist, young earth creationist, blah, blah, blah. So when I graduated high school, I still believe, this is so embarrassing to admit looking back, but I really did believe that the earth was 6,000 years old and evolution was a conspiracy and blah, blah, blah. So when I went to college, I started actually learning science for the first time. What really did it for me, I guess, was the flood. Like just how ridiculous that is. But I really believed in it before.
Can I try to have you return to Christianity?
Sure, let's try. It would make my life a lot easier. It'd make my family very happy.
Why didn't you just become a type of Christian that believed in old earth and that the flood is just a story?
Because if you can't trust in the Bible that it's reliable, if you can't believe the whole thing, then you have nothing at all, I guess. Right. I went in one instant from being like fully Christian to it all fell apart very quickly.
Well, C.S. Lewis believed in mere Christianity. As long as you believe that Jesus Christ rose from the dead, that's the main thing. And you take up your cross and you follow what he said and did. All the other stuff is fluff. Why not just kick all that other stuff to the curb and believe what's important?
Because the fluff is in the same book that tells me about Jesus Christ. So if I can't believe these parts of it, why should I trust the parts that say anything about Jesus?
I like that answer. That's a good answer. Mm-hmm. But of course, you're throwing out all history, Devon. You know that, right?
I think there is a minimal amount that can be learned about what's happened in the past from the Bible.
Mm. What would it take for you to return to Christianity?
I've heard like a lot of your answers about a specific miracle, and I think I'm probably so far gone that something similar for me, like, well, I can't quote scripture as well as you, but the King's experiment,
1 Kings 18,
that would probably do it for me.
Yeah, I'm trying to shift more towards, since I know 2 people close to me who died this year, I'm shifting towards those answers now. Like, hey, my favorite uncle died a couple months ago. My sister died 4 or 5 months ago. Raise them from the dead in the name of Jesus. That's all you have to do. Christians hate these answers because they know it probably won't happen.
Yeah. What would it take for you to be convinced in some sort of concept, like just, what is that called? Like just a general deity. What is that called?
Oh, deism? Yeah.
Yeah. What would convince you of deism?
That's a great question, Devon. Because as soon as you invoke miracles, you're talking specific theism, I think.
Mm-hmm.
See, none of the philosophical arguments convince me. And that's what people use to get to general deism, is philosophical arguments. Man, I gotta think about that. Maybe like right now I lean towards that there's always been an infinite past of the natural. But that even doesn't make sense because the time is really weird. Before, like, if I knew that there for sure was nothing, absolutely nothing, and how could you ever figure that out though? Before the Big Bang, I think I would have to maybe go for general deism. But even then, I don't know, because weird things happen, and once you start talking about the very small or the very big, But yes, the whole idea of something coming from nothing, which most atheists don't believe, but a lot of Christians just keep saying over and over again. If there was a nothing, whatever that means, and we came from that nothing, then, and if God, if a deity spoke or did something to make that nothing turn into something, which I still don't understand. But yeah, that's a good question. Nobody's ever asked me that before.
Do you miss, like, I'm pretty sure I've heard you say you miss sort of worship, like, for the singing. Is there anything about, like, feeling spiritual that you miss?
Well, I'm a Stoic by nature, so I never really was like Erin's friends in the Pentecostal church. But, you know, when you're between the ages of 18 and 22, which is years and years ago for me now, you cry a lot because you're always tired, your hormones are raging, you're always in messed up relationships. Am I right?
Yeah.
And so you do a lot of crying, and then that's when you feel the closest to God because you're hurting the most. And then if you're a Christian, you're praying and all that sort of thing. So I guess part of me misses that comfort, but not too much. Sorry. But you kind of separated the music from the spiritual. But even now, when I listen to great music or see great art, I wouldn't call it a spiritual experience, but the endorphins just flood, right? And I think what a lot of people call spiritual is just chemicals in your body. And, you know, Christians hate to hear this because I make it sound too trivial, but really it isn't. It's just a profound experience. So I still get that once in a while.
What about you, Erin?
I was getting ready to answer this. I still feel like I spend quite a bit of time looking for experiences that at one point I would have said were a spiritual experience, and now I don't know how I would describe it, but mindful experiences, endorphin rushes, like going to concerts, listening to music really loud in my car, doing different kind of meditations. I still do that. Going on walks and having great conversations with people. These things, I think, at one point I would have called spiritual experiences, and I still seek after those experiences. I think I just kind of, my framework for them is a little bit different now. So I don't miss it because I still have it. And I feel like in a lot of ways I have more of it now, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
And she can still speak in tongues, so she always has
I can. I haven't worked up the courage to do it live.
I don't know.
Yeah, I go for a walk, you know.
How many words how many words do you repeat? That's the real question.
Here, I'll show you some level. I actually wrote it out one day because I was like, what the heck is this?
Isn't it just like 5 or 6 words you repeat? I bet you I can get you to speak in tongues on air if I do it
probably
slow.
8.
8? Okay, name one word.
Well, I have to turn around for a second.
I can take you off the camera if you
No.
want.
There's a lot of shahs.
Shahs?
You are pressuring me into doing it.
I'm not pressuring. There's no pressure at all. I just want to hear one word. Like, you don't even have to say it the way you say it, but what and how do you spell it? Like,
okay, I spelled it out one day. There's a lot of shahs, a lot of kas.
Can you hold it up?
I'm looking for it. It's on my long list of other rants about things since.
I've seen that video that's been going viral of Trump's spiritual advisor, whatever, and I can remember she kept
it is kind of like
Raka
that.
and Saka.
Oh, here it is. If I say it out really slowly, that's not the same thing, right?
That's not real tongues then.
There's okay.
Okay, tilt it down.
I wrote it.
Tilt it
I
down.
wrote it out one time.
Shata kaka koko tutaka shita. Shata kaka tokata shita. Is that close?
Very close, yes.
Why are you laughing?
It's just so funny to me.
Did you hear yourself when I said it?
Yeah, a little bit. Do you know what's? I've always said it's really funny. My tongue sounds almost identical to my mom's. I think they're indistinguishable. What does that say about it? I'm so glad. I'm so glad you did that.
Hey, hang
just
on,
now.
Erin. I got Joseph on the line. Hi, Joseph. Can you hear me?
Hi.
Hi.
So I believe in Christianity, but thing is, I'm a Hebrew Israelite, so that means I descend from the ancient Israelites, and all white people are devils. So it has to be that.
Well, I do work for
all
Satan,
people
Joseph.
are gonna become our slaves, and that's what the Bible itself says. So I just want to know what you Christian white Edomite devils think about that. I just want to know.
Oh, there's no Christians on this channel right now.
There's no Christians?
No,
I thought you were.
No, I'm not a Christian. Who told you that?
Wait, what are you then?
Well, maybe we can become a Hebrew Israelite.
But you're white, no?
Are you the same person who is having marital problems?
Is it?
Don't know who that is, but no.
Just making sure.
Okay. See you, Joseph.
But
it was nice talking to you.
Excuse me?
I said see you. It was nice talking to you.
Oh, hello. But can I ask you something?
Sure.
What do you think is gonna happen when God comes to exact his vengeance for what you guys did to my people? You guys made us slaves and colonized so much. What do you think is gonna happen?
According to Judaism or according to Christianity?
According to the Bible, KJV.
KJV? Oh. Aaron and I both we perked up. Well, I'll be thrown into a fiery furnace according to Christianity, and according to Judaism, it's not clear. Maybe 11 months I'll get of real pain. Does that sound about right? Maybe 12
of suffering.
Yeah.
Well, first you guys are gonna be our handmaidens and our slaves, and then
I'm a handmaiden. I'm a guy though.
Oh, when God comes,
why does God need babies after?
What's the male version of handmaiden? Handmaid?
Gigolo?
Fucking slave. You guys are gonna be the slaves. You know.
Is it indentured servitude, or like chattel?
Oh
chattel?
no. This is gonna be hellfire for what you guys did to us for 200 plus years. It's gonna be hellfire and pain every day. This is not a joke. God is coming.
When?
Very soon.
Hey, can we make a bet?
Yes.
Yeah.
Let's take a bet.
Okay. When
What's
you say
the bet?
Well, what does very soon mean? Is that like within 5 years?
When Donald Trump decides to not bow down and there's going to be a race war, the Hebrew Israelites, so that includes myself, the Black people, and people of Latin American descent and indigenous descent, we're going to exact our vengeance upon the Edomites.
Can I see your face?
Of Esau, excuse me, the descendants of Esau, which is yourself, a white devil.
What's wrong with what's
the
wrong
red
with being a devil?
Sorry?
What's wrong with being a devil?
What's wrong with being a devil?
Yeah.
What's not wrong with being a devil?
Well, I'm a devil according to you, right?
Yeah, exactly. No, you're a devil species. You're a devil species. I didn't say you were the devil.
I know.
Of course, you're not the devil.
But what's wrong with being a devil?
What's wrong with being a devil?
Yeah.
That's horrible. I mean, why would you do that?
What's horrible about being a devil?
Your race is the descendants of Esau. You guys betrayed Jacob. Have you not read the Bible?
Yeah.
I remember that being in it.
Yeah. But anyhow, let's get back to the bet. So are you saying within 5 years God's going to come?
No. when Donald Trump, when the Civil War starts,
Between who
are
and who?
going to
Who's the Civil War?
destroy. We are going to destroy the Edomites of this earth. So that is yourself, the white people, the devils, and the fake Jews, of course. And you guys are going to become our slaves, and we are going to rule over Israel and the whole earth.
What do you think I have to do as a slave? What are you going to make me do?
Everything. You're gonna rebuild.
Can I be
you're
the
gonna
jester?
rebuild Africa.
Can I be
Sorry?
the slave that makes you guys laugh? Is that okay? Because I'm pretty good at comedy.
A jester.
Yeah, can I be the jester slave?
It won't be up to me because I will likely perish in the war to come. So
this is very confusing.
Why would you perish
there's
if you're on the
going to
winning
be
team?
a war. There's going to be a war between my people and your people, and there's going to be
When you
a
say
mass.
What about people who are mixed race?
Oh, they are still brothers. They're still brothers. They have disgusting devilness that we have to clean out of them.
How do you do that?
How do you do that?
By our rituals. Whenever we let in
bleach.
somebody
It's
who
bleach in the
has-
veins, Erin.
who has
Bleach, right?
Well, yeah. Okay, so yeah, that makes sense, Donald. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, that's how you get the devil out of people, is with bleach.
Is COVID the devil as well? Is that something to do with that?
COVID was caused by the fake Jews and the fake media
In China.
So, well, they brought it over there. I mean, over here. They brought it over. They brought it over there in China, and then from there, the fake Jews brought it back and they spread it.
How do I know you're not a fake Jew?
What do you mean?
Well, you keep talking about fake Jews. I think you're a fake Jew.
Really? How so?
Well, you're not showing your face. How do I know you're even black?
I can't show my face because I'm on the run.
You're on the run from who?
From the police for
No, what? What did you do?
I'm actually impressed at this point.
Spreading my
We got him to crack. We win, Joseph. We win. We got you to crack. Thanks for playing. Joseph, I appreciate you made us laugh. I don't.
That was
mind
that was
type
a good troll. Yeah.
Yeah.
Very good.
Well, we should wrap it up on that note. Okay, guys. Oh, let me get the theme song going. Thanks for doing this, Erin. I had a good time.
So, thanks for having me on. This was really fun.
You want to be poofed? You want to be poofed?
Oh yeah. Yeah, definitely. Please.
Yeah, there we go. Now you still see yourself here, but they can't see you anymore. Okay. How long did we go? 3 hours. That's perfect. Yeah, Joseph, great job. Next time you want to troll, you have my permission to come. Thanks, Ralph Shively. Thanks for the donation, Joystick Jedi. Pinecreek, when are you going to have Satan on? Satan's in the room right now, Joystick. Let me show you. Oh, sorry, I gotta get rid of Erin. Okay, Satan. Yeah. Yeah, Satan. You're glowing a little too much. Bleach Rituals gets the whites out. the white out. Thanks, Brother John. Oh man, I'm watching the replay. I was really red there.
There. Are we all done now?
No, just a few more. Hey guys, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for any donations that I might have missed. Have a great rest of your Sunday.